What's good? What's good, everybody? Welcome to the show. This is Look in the Mirror, the conversation. One of your co-hosts, Quay Price, and our other co-host, King Jaquil Martin, is not going to make it tonight, so we're going to hold it down solo. I appreciate everybody joining us tonight on the show. We got a good topic that we need to discuss. Shout out to everybody watching. Shout out to everybody down in the comments. So, man, let's say just rock with us tonight. Let's say we're going to get into this topic real quick. Let's say we got a couple guests to bring on the show. So let's show some love real quick. Actually, you know what? I want to do something. So shout out or rest in peace to Black Rob. So we recently lost Black Rob. He passed away. So I just wanted to do a quick moment of silence for Black Rob. All right, appreciate that. Let's just wanted to show a little love to Black Rob. Let's say we threw his intro music on for the intro song. So shout out to Black Rob. So let me hit these sponsors real quick. Like I said, then we're gonna get into this. We're gonna kind of try to keep this show to keep it moving. So hold on with me for a sec. All right, shout out to our first sponsor, Two Sons Juice Co. Cold pressed juice company based in Metro Detroit. All natural, no preservatives, no chemicals. Veggie blends, fruit blends, cleanse kits, you name it, they got it all. So definitely go check them out. twosonsjuiceco.com. That's the number 2sonsjuiceco.com. And then our second sponsor, A War on Friendly Grounds. So this is the book that our own co-host King Jaquil Martin wrote, 5-star rated on Amazon. Let's say he also has the short film that is accompanying the book. Man, it is literally going viral around the world. So shout out to that brother, you know, and everything that he's doing. Man, like I said, that thing is blowing up. Like I said, it's doing what it needs to do. So definitely support that brother. A War on Friendly Grounds.com. A War on Friendly Grounds with an S.com. All right, Lesson, if you're joining us on the show right now, down in the comments, let's say drop a comment, let us know you here. It's my cousin. He said the beard on point, KP. No, appreciate that. Appreciate that, cuz. Appreciate it, man. Let's say shout out to Herschel as well. Let's see. He says Shock G just passed away today too. Man, I didn't know that, Herschel. Man, let's say rest in peace to Shock G. Man, we losing so many greats, man. Losing so many greats. But man, it's a lot going on right now. So let me get these folks in on the panel. We got a couple folks joining us tonight to touch this topic. Lavelle, what's good, man?
Hey, what's going on?
Nothing much. Chloe, how you doing? I think you're muted right now.
Muted. Hey.
How you doing? Welcome to the show. All right. So we may have a couple other folks that's gonna join us, but I'm gonna try to keep this thing on time tonight. So the topic tonight is let's talk about it. Oh wait, hold on. Oh, y'all are ready for the link? Hold on, let me shoot this link out real quick. Hold on. See how they like to work? They like to work me right when I get into the show. You see how they do? All right, hold on a minute. I'm gonna send this to you, Nina. Give me 1 sec, everybody. Let me just send these links out real fast. I think we got Herschel and working me out right at the end right here. Let's see. All right, Nina and Herschel, I just sent y'all the link. So y'all should have the link to join the panel. All right, so the topic of tonight is let's talk about it. So I'm sure you guys have all been seeing. Oh, here they come. How you doing, Nina?
Hey.
Good day, sir. Hey.
I think we got one more coming in a minute. I think Herschel going to join us, but we'll get on into it. All right, so let's say the topic of tonight is let's talk about it. So this topic is based around a couple things that have recently happened. So let me backtrack, give a little context. So the other day, actually that was this week, the cop was found guilty on his charges, right? So when that happened, I'm sure you guys saw the post just like I saw them. Everybody got excited. They're like, hey, we won. What I'm saying? Finally, we getting some justice. And for me, I made a post about it. The way I listed the post was, I feel like there's more to this case. But really what I was trying to say is, I just feel like something is off. Like something is not, this is going a little too smooth, right? Something is off. So while, I think his name, Derek Chauvin, I think that's how you pronounce his last name. So while he was found guilty on his 3 charges, I want to say maybe 30-40 minutes before that, a young lady in Columbus, Ohio, and I want to say her name, is it Ma'Khia or Makia? She was shot by police, and as I understand it, actually killed by police. And as I understand it, she put in a call to the police because, unless I said, correct me if I'm wrong, some young ladies or some folks were coming to jump her or inflict some harm on her, and being proactive, she contacted the police. And I'm sure everybody has seen this video that is circulating. That when the police arrived, from the video that I saw, they literally were there for, man, if it was seconds. And then I saw that the officer opened fire, on the young lady. I want to say it was 4 or 5 shots, and killed the young lady. Because I think at that time, according to what I've seen, the young lady had a knife in her hand, and I'm assuming she was defending herself in this whole altercation. But I said, correct me if I'm wrong. But she was shot 4 or 5 times and killed on the spot. I don't even think the cop ever even talked to the young lady. I don't think he ever talked to anybody. Like I said, from what I saw, it looks like he hopped out the car and basically approached the scene and started shooting. So on top of that, the next day, a gentleman by the name of Andrew Brown in Elizabeth City was killed by police. Police were serving a warrant, and yes, so we're still waiting on, body camera footage on the situation, but police, were allegedly serving a warrant, and something ensued, and this gentleman was shot and killed as well. So from the announcement of Derek Chauvin being pronounced guilty, we have 2 other killings within the same, basically the same day and the next day after. And like I said, I don't know what you guys are seeing on social media, but I'm seeing a lot of things. I'm seeing a lot of arguments. I'm seeing a lot of fighting. I'm seeing a lot of agree to disagree. I'm seeing a lot of you just crazy. You don't know what you're talking about. I'm seeing a lot of the cop was justified in killing the young girl. I'm seeing a lot of stuff. So I wanna throw a video real quick, and then let's say we're gonna get into this because I want to hear y'all perspectives on this situation. So let me throw this up real quick, and then we're gonna get into that. Let's see.
You say her name, Ma'Khia Bryant, the 16-year-old who was in the process of trying to stab another Black woman to death and got shot and killed by police officers who saved the life of the Black girl who she was trying to kill, okay? She was trying to kill her. That is what you do. That is what you are trying to accomplish when you take a knife and you try to stab someone repeatedly. You are trying to commit murder, okay? This woman, young lady, if you'd like to call her, got stopped in the middle of a crime, in the middle of an attempt at murdering someone.
Number one, let's run down the list of things that I don't approve of this conversation. Number one, she was not going to murder that girl. Let's just start with that. Like, that's you. A lot of y'all are not from the hood, and it shows. And I don't say that to say that I'm minimizing your Black experience. I don't say that to shit on you as a person. I say that you don't understand this type of shit happens every day. It's sad, it's horrible, but the reality of the situation is it happens. This shit happens. I was jumped one time when I was in like 7th or 8th grade by like 3 11th graders. You think I didn't put my box cutter out? You outside your fucking mind. Absolutely did. Absolutely did. Would I promote that to my child? No, because are we supposed to teach our kids to be better? Do I think that it's okay that those girls came over there to jump her? No. Do I think that it's okay that she defended herself? Yeah. Do I think that this police officer could have used different methods to de-escalate the situation? Absolutely. That's what he's supposed to do. That's what we pay him for. That's why our taxes dollars go to the police officers so they protect and serve us, not to kill and hurt us. But so many of y'all out here shucking and jiving and thinking this shit is okay. Well, I would have killed you too. Yeah, because you a suck ass nigga. Period. And I don't say that because to be offensive. I say that because it's the truth. Oh, we can have a difference of opinions. Yeah, you can. Unless it is supportive to systematic racism, unless it is supporting the lack of protection for Black women, unless it is acting like, here I come, Pooh, you can't go through that. Unless it is basically saying it's okay for shit like this to happen, because it's not. Cousins, let me know what y'all think of this. I gotta go. I'm about to go crazy.
All right. So I just wanted to throw that up just for another perspective to add to the show. So, all right. So let's get into it. So, what are we seeing? What are we dealing with? How y'all feeling? What do y'all think about it? Like I said, anybody can go first. Lavelle, Nina,
Okay.
Chloe, whoever
Yeah,
wants to shoot off first.
There's a lot to
Go ahead,
unpack here.
Lavelle. Yeah.
So, go ahead.
You go ahead, because I had a whole list of stuff to unpack when it comes down to the Chauvin case and the young lady in Columbus. So, and I saw all the arguments on Facebook and everything else. So, I guess we should start with Chauvin, since that's the most latest one, I guess. I felt like when the whole thing was reading everything, the whole day I was like, I don't trust the justice system, so I was surprised he got found guilty, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay. But then it was like, for me, it was like, okay, but what about the sentencing? And the judge is the one who sentences him. It's not going to be the jury.
Mm-hmm.
So then this whole wave of emotion came over me. Like, I'm emotional. Why am I emotional? Because, the justice system has failed us so many times before. We still through this. So for me, it was I was kind of emotional that day, because it took me to a time where I've seen my father being pulled over by police. I've seen, men in my life being pulled over by police. And it made me think like easily somebody in my life could have been George Floyd. Mm-hmm. And how is that family feeling right now? So for me, the Chauvin thing is like, it's still ongoing. I don't think he's going to get 40 years. I'll be surprised if he gets 10. So that's my thoughts on that. I'm going to go back with Marquette, because that's a whole situation to unpack. That's a lot. The whole young lady in Columbus is a lot to unpack with that. So.
I agree. Again, there's a lot to unpack here as far as, I guess, let's start back with Chauvin. Before we start with that, we got to stop promoting Candace Owens as a legitimate voice in anything with Black, anything. She does not represent who we are. She can have a side, but her side, she's been so polarized in what she's saying, and it's done purposefully. It's just, we got to stop putting her on at all.
Agreed.
Now, as far as the officer or whatever, the I guess the inmates or the murderer, Derek Chauvin, I agree with you. Okay, first let's say people think that we won. If we won, what did we win?
Right.
I didn't get a prize. I didn't get money. I didn't get anything. I don't know who got money from that case. I know as far as there was a settlement, but we didn't win. Nobody wins when the system fails. There's supposed to be a system where there's citizens and there's people to protect us. Somebody was murdered by the person who was supposed to protect us. So we did not win. Nobody won anything. We all lost. So as far as the whole trial, I almost feel like he was a sacrificial lamb. There's a few different reasons why I feel that. The jury was thankfully the jury was mixed up with Caucasians, Blacks, mixed, or maybe even other races as well. There was one lady on there that was a pulmonary specialist. So as far as they're already coming from their experiences, from being a person of color or being a person of expertise with lung conditions. Then there's the fact that the police actually stood up and said something, which was very rare, and I'm very thankful for it. But it feels like they just set him up to get caught up. And then the last thing, his the lawyers that represented him, they weren't that great. they didn't object to certain things that they could have objected to, as far as when some of the people came up and they were talking from their feelings. The feelings should have been taken. I mean, no, I'm glad they weren't taken out of the case. But as far as that doesn't have anything to do with the case, and they could have objected. So I feel like that was an easy win. And I knew, as far as when the jury went away for 10 hours and came back, I knew it was going to be guilty and guilty of all counts. They didn't pass any notes to the judge or anything. So that was an easy win for them, I guess. But again, this is not a win. We need to do things for the system for us to be safe. I'm sorry to be so long-winded.
It's all good, man. No, you definitely got to get your perspective out, man. You wanna say anything else? Or you good right now?
I'm good for now.
Okay. Herschel, Chloe, you want to say anything at all?
Real brief. I'm gonna be real brief because with the Chauvin, that whole I didn't keep up as much with the trial. I more so would get the sound bites. I didn't like watch it because I feel like it's all a show. I agree with Lavelle because I really think that they set him up to be the fall guy. They needed to pin this on somebody. I think they knew that the public outcry was going to be so great. They've seen how the public has responded, and I think they needed. I'm always very leery of this when it seems like they finally like throw us a bone. I always go, okay, you're giving us this, so that means there's something. Like the other shoe is going to drop. Like there's going to be something. So I'm not about to celebrate because I don't think that there's anything to celebrate. I think that this is a big show. And unfortunately, I hate to say this, but I believe George Floyd's death was a part of the act. I'm not saying it wasn't real, nothing like that. But what I'm saying is this government tends to take incidents like this and use it for their benefit. So when you hear Nancy Pelosi say stuff like, thank you for your sacrifice, she meant that. She meant that exactly the way she said it. His life was a sacrifice. He was sacrificed so that they could continue their agenda. And they have a purpose for everything that they do. It is not coincidental. It's also not, it's just, just like, I'll talk about my kid because I have some other things to say about that. But it's not coincidental. Like people need to understand when they do these things, they're very, very intentional about it. And her getting on there and saying, thank you for your sacrifice that wasn't a oopsies. Like you don't say anything like that. This man didn't sacrifice his life. He was killed. Like this is not, what are we doing? They show their hand. And I think unfortunately we have to stop being so emotional and we have to start paying attention so we can see what's really going on. Because there's more to this than what meets the eye. That's all I have to say. And I agree with you, Nina. The sentencing is coming, and I just don't. I don't believe that they're going to truly sentence this man the way that they should. The judge is already setting up an out. He's already setting up an out. They're already looking for ways to, he wasn't treated fairly, and Maxine Waters said this, and they're buddies or whatever the case may be. Like he's already setting up the narrative. So that when they come through with the ridiculous, non-existent sentencing, and I'll be very surprised if they give him a serious sentence. I'll be surprised, but I highly doubt it.
I want to second as far as what Chloe just said. We have to stop being political pieces. When someone dies, it's not a black person dies. It's not a political thing. It's that we're trying to survive, and I don't care if it's a Republican that's going to stand up for me or Democrat. and then people who know me, they know I argue a lot on the internet, and I got to stop doing that. But as far as when someone says, "Oh, it's the Democratic agenda," no, it's not. It's as far as black people are trying to survive just the same as everyone else. And I'm sick of us being politicized, especially when we die. I don't want to see, as far as Nancy Pelosi or Chuck Schumer or Mitt Romney or Mitch McConnell or anything else. And then I second Chloe as far as I feel like they're saying, "Hey, we threw you a bone. You guys are good now." Like when Mitch said,
Calm down.
Well, we gave black people something when Barack Obama was elected. There goes something for black people. No, it's not. It's just someone that's good enough to be a president when that title had a meaning that happened to be black. So again, I'm sick of this being politicized.
I feel that. You want to say something, Herschel, or C Prince, either one?
Yeah, I'll go in there. Like when the verdict came in, I was watching everybody around me like screaming out guilty and like jumping for joy and excited and happy, and I was just numb. You know what I'm saying? I just was numb about it. And it's like, and the reason for me why I was numb about it is because I didn't really feel no reason to celebrate. You know what I'm saying? Because I would have celebrated if he was able to come back to life. You know what I'm saying? And also it's like, it's hard for me to celebrate that when I know, like, when I step out my house and go to the store, I'm still going to get treated like I'm stealing something, you know what I'm saying? Or not greeted by the greeters, and then another white person walks in behind and they get greeted, you know what I'm saying? Those type of things. This mistreatment of people of color, if it's still going to happen, it's like I can't really be excited about it, you know what I'm saying? I'm happy for the family, and hopefully they can kind of get some rest, about it. But as far as like thinking, like I even put a post, whatever that day was, I said, let's not put our guard down, that's not like, we didn't overcome, you know what I'm saying? Like the We Shall Overcome song, like we ain't overcome yet. We ain't even started yet. So let's just keep moving with our agenda of trying to get equal rights, equal pay, equal all that stuff, and just like this police brutality got to stop. And so until I see that stuff, until I can go places and feel like equal, then I'll be able to celebrate. That's all I feel.
Yeah, and I appreciate you saying that, man. Like I said, that's an important nugget right there. Like I said, typically, a lot of folks are happy with just getting a bone. You know what I'm saying? They get a little piece of something and they get excited, and then for the most part, they move on to the next thing, right? And then the cycle starts all over again. So no, you definitely can never drop your guard, let's say, because at the end of the day, we're talking about progress, and one of these hundreds of thousands of situations, that one guy, like I said, he hasn't even been sentenced yet, so to Nina's point, we ain't even to the end of this thing. He just got convicted, but it's like he hasn't even been sentenced yet. So like I said, some of it is, it does come off a little premature, but like I said, I think that's from, people just being happy to get a bone. Right. But at the end of the day, we got to demand more. You know what I'm saying? We got to have higher expectations, and we got to demand more. Simple as that. You want to say something, C Prince? Are you good, man?
Yeah, I'll say something. The piggyback off of it, I didn't celebrate this. You know what I'm saying? I've been around a long time to see ups and downs, the celebrations. Seem like we won and we really didn't want to just like give a dog a bone. But I think this case is so important because this is the first time that the world had to pay attention to a man, not a black man, but a man being mistreated. You see what I'm saying? So they had to pay attention, regardless of the color of his skin. They had to pay attention that this system will defy a man to a point to make him call his mother. And guess what? The oppression that you have done to the people of color, this reflected. That knee on his neck is what you've been doing to us all along. But now the world sees it, and they got a physical representation of you putting your knee on the African-American, Black, Moorish, what you want to call yourself, neck in this country. So I didn't celebrate it. I mean, I thought it was sad because I think it's sad because we celebrated, we rejoiced, But guess what? We can't bring them back celebrating.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You know, all we did was make sure he did. Not purposely, he did. He made the world look at this is still going on in America.
Mm-hmm.
See what I'm saying? So we got to do better, you know, and we should look at it as a loss in a sense, because now it's going to be smarter ways to attack you in the long run. This is they're going to correct their playbook and they're going to come out a different angle.
Good point.
And that's how I see it.
Okay. No, I appreciate that, man. Go ahead.
And the one thing that kind of really bothered me was, like, you know, I was thinking about it, was it had to be so egregious to get a guilty verdict on tape. When we know we had Federal Castillo on tape. And, you know, so for me, it was like, you got it on tape, you see this man's neck, it should have been easily a guilty verdict. But it's always that inkling, because we know so many times, we know they're guilty. We know, okay, we'll see what happens. So I think that's why people were celebrating. I know for me, it's like, because justice system has never been fair for Black people. For me, it was like, okay, I was like, yes, guilty. Okay, we still got to sentence this man, and this judge is not on our side. So,
right.
But you know, I also got to say, I watched the trial one day. One day, I watched the trial, and then it was strange to me that they was trying to humanize him and not address the crime. Majority of the time, they had to humanize him, make him seem like he was human during this trial. I'm like, this don't make sense to me. This is a man that's been murdered, but you got to humanize him and try to correct his wrongs that he can't defend himself to because he was murdered. But yet and still, most of the trial was like, let's talk about his character and stuff like that. You know, they had to humanize the man for being murdered. And that didn't make sense to me.
Right.
Yeah. No, I agree with that, man. I agree with that.
They brought his girlfriend or fiance on the trial. They brought people that his brother that didn't really have anything to do with the core murder to humanize this man. How crazy is that? How have we gone so far that we can't empathize for the fellow citizen, the fellow man, fellow woman? How have we got this far where if anybody dies, I don't care what color it is, that I can't feel for them or their family?
Well, we have to remember, though, that and I hate to say this, but we are behind enemy lines. Like, it doesn't matter how long we live in this country. So the people who, the men who built this country, who robbed, raped, and pillaged to be able to put their name on this country, we were just another product, another item. We were just another, piece of property. So we have to remember, like, I think sometimes because we have been able to achieve certain things in this country, and we reached a certain level of success, and we've made, names for ourselves, and we have famous, inventors and very important people who have shaped the history of this nation. But we have to remember that even with all of that, they still have not changed the Constitution to where we're actually looked at as a whole person. So we have to understand that has not changed. And they teach their children and their children the same thing. So we have to remember, and this is not to perpetuate racism, okay? Because race ain't even a real thing. There's no such thing. That's a construct that they created. But I'm just simply saying, in their minds, this is the way they see it. This is the way they view us. So, we're not, are we human to them? That's the thing. Like, that's why they have to try to, bring, to bring some humanity to it, because they don't see us as that way. So, I mean, we have to remember that when we move, when we make our moves, when we do things, we need to be always doing it from a mindset of, yes, it would be nice to be seen as equal. It would be nice to get equity in this country. obviously I would want that. I'm just being realistic in that I don't know that that's ever going to happen because they simply didn't build the system that way. They didn't build and create this society for us to be equal or have equity. They just didn't. That's not what they want because they're much more profitable. I mean, all their wealth, we have to think about this. Their entire wealth was created off of slavery. They are rich because of us. So they certainly can't have us elevate to be at the same stature as they are because they have to be able to protect their legacies and their generational wealth and their names that they've made for themselves. So, I mean, I just want my people to remember that and to understand that just because they don't accept you here in this country or they don't look at you to be the same way, you need to understand who you are and that this is not all there is to you. And this certainly isn't, I mean, I don't know. Sometimes I think it's fruitless for us to continue to fight for some of the things we're fighting for. And no, that doesn't mean I think that we should just lie down and take any type of treatment. I'm not saying that either. I just want us to be realistic about the situation that we're dealing with. This is why, they can put literally this man had his knee on this man's neck for 8 minutes? Over 8 minutes? I mean,
minutes, 20 some seconds, yep.
Yeah, it's like he had no care or no concern for this man at all. It was not even a second thought.
Yeah, go ahead, Lavelle.
We have to figure out if we're going to be Martin or Malcolm at times. To keep asking for them to see us as an equal can only go so far in my mind. It feels like some people, as far as the they is the people who say, oh, they're taking over, we're losing. Okay, if they feel like they're losing, let's let them feel like they're losing. Let's build a society together. Let's build our own table, and let's have them come to our table. They make so much money off of us still with entertainment and with everything that we do, music, style. Let's put it in our own pockets. Let's stop getting these deals with companies and say, hey, I got a deal with X company, and if I step out of line, X company's going to drop me. Let's have our own, and let's have them come to our table.
Okay, no, I feel that, Lavelle. That's gonna segue us into this next piece of this. So we talk, this topic comes up, right? So we talk about, we see these situations and we're like, okay, we need to do something different. Essentially, we need to collaborate, as a people. We need to go down the path of economically building with each other, supporting each other, kicking off our own businesses, putting our own people in place, essentially creating our own table. But even in this situation, like I said, I want to segue into, talking about the young lady in Columbus. And even in this situation, we can't even get on the same page about what happened to this young lady in Columbus. So I understand what you're saying, Lavelle, from an economic perspective. That makes a lot of sense, right? But before you can successfully execute economic transactions with like-minded or your with your community, your mindset got to be somewhat correct. And just based on some of the back and forth, the arguments, the stuff I've been seeing today, just in regard to, the young lady lesson. I think I want to make sure I'm saying her name right. I think it's Makia or Makaya.
I think it's Makaya.
Makaya. Okay. So I'll go with that. So yeah, just discussing Makaya today. I mean, we bucking about that. Like, I done seen so many disagreements today, man, just about Makaya and if the cop was justified or not. And we got folks fighting both sides. Some folks is like the cop was out of line. He could have did other things to de-escalate the situation. And other folks is like, she had a knife. She should have got shot. And all of these folks look just like me and you, Lavelle. So what do you think about that? Let's send this question out to the panel. What do y'all think about that? Give me y'all opinion on the Ma'Khia situation. Let's say then Lavelle, we're gonna curve back into that economic discussion because that's important.
Yes. Okay.
Go ahead.
We have to be okay with us not being agreeable all the times.
I agree.
We have to be okay with there being a discussion, a debate, as long as it's handled in a proper way. That's healthy for society. There's no demographic of people who agree with each other all the time.
I agree.
Before I say what I feel about the case, I was looking at YouTube, and then my boy Will, his wife,
Leah,
yep, she said something that really impacted me. She said on her post, it was saying that this is almost dehumanizing, desensitizing. The reason why I stopped, I didn't watch I watched the cliff notes of the Floyd trial. I didn't watch the whole Ma'Khia video all the way. I watched kind of like the snippet of it a few times. I'm getting, like, for a moment, for years ago, or maybe a year ago or so, I was desensitized to these things. Now I'm seeing that it has an effect of my mental health. So I've had to kind of guard myself on seeing it all or getting into it too much, because at the end of the day, another lady is dead. A young lady that was 16 that had a future ahead of her is gone.
Right.
We have to first acknowledge that a human was lost. And then we have to figure out where it broke down and where it can be corrected. My thought on the whole the shooting will go against the grain of a lot of people. So I'm gonna reserve my thought for right now and let everyone else speak before I say what I feel about it. But we just need to figure out where things are breaking down, and it's not just one side or the other side is breaking down. Everybody is breaking down. We have to look at our actions all the way around. As a citizens, we have to look at our actions and see what could be the repercussion of it. As officers, they have to do the same. So that's what I'm gonna say for right now.
Okay.
Can I jump in?
Go ahead, Nina.
I actually put a post up about this situation because I've been seeing so much on Facebook, and everybody's blaming the officer, blaming the young lady, blaming this person, fighting each other. And the one thing I did not see a lot of was, where are the parents? Where is the community? Where is the people? Where are the adults in situations de-escalating this for the kids? We all know how it is to be teenagers, to be high-headed and not think and do things that are just totally out of our character. We know that. Where are the adults in the situation? And I say, if you're going to put blame on somebody, put blame on everybody out there who did not try to stop it. Put blame on everybody out there who egg people on, who did not say, hey, wait a minute, this could escalate to something bad, And that's where my biggest issue is right now, because this should have never gotten to that point. And I'm just like, where are the parents? Where are the adults? Where is the community? That's the main thing. I keep thinking. It keeps circling in my head with it. And again, I feel like people are missing the point that this young lady is dead. She had a knife. She made a bad decision, but this young lady is dead. She's not coming back. So.
I mean, the one point I wanted, there's 3 points that I want to make. I'm going to try to be brief. The first point is, I agree with Lavelle when he said that, when he mentioned like becoming desensitized to it because you see it so much, like that can actually happen. Like I had to stop watching them too. Like I literally only watched it because it came up and there was an article talking about, some additional details or whatever. So I listened to the article and they had the little like a photo or like a small clip. But I've been trying to stay away from it because I still wouldn't. I have not seen the George Floyd video. I wouldn't watch it. I could not watch this man call for his mother. I refuse to see it. I would not. I know what happened because people have told me, and of course we've talked about it, but I would not watch it. I could not see it. And I agree. I think that's sort of the point. If they can continue to serve you these images, obviously I'm not saying that we don't need to know that it's going on, so we don't need the footage as proof. But the fact that they play this stuff over and over and over again, it becomes a viral video, like a TikTok. Like, I think there's a reason why they're doing that. We have to understand that they want us desensitized. They want us to see a young lady who has not had a chance to really live life, taken by the hands of another police officer as, oh, it's just another day, it's just another thing, and she shouldn't have been trying to stab nobody. And it's like that you start to have that reaction first and foremost when you've gotten to the point where you, as Lavelle, you said earlier, where now you're dehumanizing people. So in your mind, now you're not even making the connection that this was a 16-year-old child. She was not a woman. So Candace Owens, she's not a woman. She was a child. She was a teenager. She was not a woman. They always do that to Black people. They do that to our black boys. All of a sudden they become men, and our Black women now, that our Black young women, now they're all of a sudden they're adults. They're women, and that's not the case. It's not the case, and we have to be very cautious and careful. We have to pay attention to catch that, because it's they're doing it on purpose. It's intentional. Not only that, I agree with Nina. Where were the adults? Like, why had no one else around tried to stop this? But at the same time, I don't want us to also get to the point where, because I think some of this might be happening too. After a while, it becomes too much, and you develop a little bit of PTSD. And then you start to try to find ways to cope, right? So some of this people saying, well, it was her fault and she got what she deserved and this. I mean, I really think some of this is people getting to the point where they're having a hard time dealing with all of the lives that are being taken. So their way is now they have to find a way to rationalize it, right? So now I have to make it okay. Because I'm at the point now where it's just getting too much for me in order for me to be okay about what's going on, because I still have to live here. Now I have to try to rationalize why these things are happening. Well, in this case, it's different because she did have a knife. So because she had a knife this time is different. So it's not the same as all the other times. And I think I really am wondering if some of that is going on now, because as people, we can sometimes try to find an excuse for something when we need to be okay with it. Like when we just need it to be okay and we just need to be okay, we can rationalize the heck out of that thing. And I just feel like blaming this 16-year-old for the way she died is a stretch for me. I'm not saying that they should have been out there fighting, obviously not. And obviously somebody else there, I feel like there were adults standing around. Like, what were they doing? Like, just watching? Like, what were we doing here? Like, I agree. But one was kicking a girl. I saw the one gentleman kick the young lady, and I'm like, this is foolishness. But I also go like, okay, so now we're saying 16-year-old young lady, it was your fault that you got shot 4 times, dead. I mean, I think we also have to think about that, right? We know the biases that exist. So I'm not saying she didn't do anything wrong, okay? I'm not saying that. But we know the bias that exists. So I feel like we really have to think that thing through before we say something like, well, she deserved that. Like, that's heavy. That's really, you're really saying something when you say that. And I feel like we need to be careful because they want us to think like that, right? Because then we can start to rationalize their behavior. And the behavior that they're displaying is not rational. Nah.
Want to say something, Herschel or Joe C. Prince? Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, because I was one of these people that on Monday watched all the closing arguments. If I can go back to that for a second, and
Go ahead.
it's 5 hours of my life that I would never get back. I can tell you that, especially when I didn't have coffee and I got off work. The thing that stuck out to me watching, for one thing, watching the defense is 3-hour summation. All of it was about why it's George Floyd's fault, not his client's fault. Was enough to. If I hear reasonable one more time, I swear to God, I'm gonna shoot somebody. Really. But seeing that was, and then seeing the rebuttal from the prosecutor, which, by the way, this guy, I mean, he gave a clinic on being a prosecutor. And I mean that to say that, to me, this guy, when I watched his rebuttal, it's just, the thing that went through my mind is, even in a situation like this, as Black people, we got to do twice as much to get something, I think now 1/4. You got to get twice as much. This man broke this down so daggone to a fine-tooth comb that there was absolutely no way, in my opinion, that someone could come out there saying, not have a guilty verdict with this. I mean, he really broke it down. Even his opening statement, he broke down everything. I mean, and it didn't take him 3 hours, by the way. Just to be clear, he got it down to a science, even to his last statement, which I can't believe I forgot what he said. But anyway, it was that he left him with that last statement. And even now with this young lady, the 16-year-old that got killed. Well, not got killed, excuse me. That was killed by police. I am back and forth with people online saying, well, she should have been fighting. She should have had a knife, blah, blah. I said, well, do you realize that once the police show up, they did not even think, just like Tamir Rice, they didn't even think that these are kids. He just took out a gun and went white boy crazy and just shot everybody, start shooting. And by the way, if the adults were there, the thing that went to my mind, the adults being out there, I keep wondering to myself, what would have happened if the adults were out there intervening and the cops saw that and they still start firing? We may have had the adults being shot, in my opinion, because that's how quick these guys were with the gun. And I'm just saying, why the gun? Why not why didn't you reach for the taser? Why is that to be? Why do you have to have in your arsenal when you come out and see Black people? The first thing you reach for is a gun and start shooting, and this happens every single time. That there's no because I guarantee you this. And I said this to a friend of mine I was not arguing with, but just I have a discussion with. If there were white people out there doing it, there would have been no gun. He would have reached for no damn gun because he would have saw himself in those people. And as again, it goes back to how they see us, in my opinion. And I don't know how this verdict, I'm glad the verdict came out the way it did, given what I said. But also, I'm thinking, I don't know what you do to stop implicit bias. Right. I don't know how. I don't know what the cure is. If there was and there isn't that I can see, but people are hoping that this is going to change things. I think you can change with legislation. I think you can do things with legislation, but still, you got this. People have implicit biases. The idea that you can be a white officer in Virginia, see a serviceman, a Black man who's a serviceman, and still think you have the temerity and the gall to take out pepper spray and just spray him up like you're spraying Raid around your house. It just boggles my mind. And it's just, I mean, even though I'm glad for the verdict, there's a part of me that says, you know what? There's a part of me that's like, you know, that was great and everything. Number one, we don't know what the sentencing going to be because, I mean, the way this judge has been acting. I mean, the defense wanted to blame Maxine Waters' statement about, you know, the trial, but no one talked about Pat Robertson's statement when he got on the 700 Club and said that Derek Chauvin belongs underneath the jail. No one talked about that. And I'm from Virginia. I'm from that region where Pat Robertson resides. And And for him, when he said that, I was on the damn floor. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it came out of his mouth. And so I don't know. I'm met in limbo here with all this. I'm just listening to everybody, and I'm just, these are things that gone through my mind this whole week. So anyone else can jump in.
I appreciate it, Joe. Go ahead, C Prince, and I think we got Herschel. Go ahead, C Prince.
Okay. I'm a very lightly tread on the girl from Ohio because I got family there and people, that know of this young lady and stuff like that. So what I'm going to say is this, is we got to stop, we got to look at the training of the police. You know what I'm saying? Because if you've seen the video, 4 shots. And these 4 shots wasn't aimed to disarm or disable. These 4 shots was, and that's like military training. We're not there to disable you or something. We're there to end this and move on to our next objective. And you got to think about it. Their training is to recognize threats to them. So they're training that people that do not look like them or come from a different background or area are already threats before they even get there. You see what I'm saying? So, I got mixed feelings about what happened because we can't handicap the police for doing their jobs. But we also got to have them responsible for incorrectly doing their jobs. You see what I'm saying? So they got to walk a fine balance, but they don't. You know what I'm saying? You can storm the White House and not get shot, but you could take a lollipop from the store and get murdered. You see what I'm saying? So it's not balanced. It's not right. It's not justice. You know what I'm saying? It's just like this is the way to keep people in line or to put the fear, because guess what? When we go home and talk to our kids, the boogeyman in the closet it's not in the closet, it's in the streets, these police officers. That's the boogeyman we're talking about to our children. So they watch out, for the boogeyman. We ain't saying say hi to protect and serve. This is the boogeyman. This is one more let you come home. You see? So we got to, it's got to be balanced for us. That's all we asking for, balance. If a black person do a crime, it's wrong, do your job. But be in reason with it. Don't over exaggerate it. Chalk one up for your team, go back to your buddies like, yeah, I got I got my black wings. You know what I'm saying? I got my Mexican rings, got Chinaman rings. You know what I'm saying? People understand this. We got to understand that, yes, the young lady had a knife. But I've seen police officers, and we've seen videos online with a white dude pointing a gun at the police officer. And he put it down, and guess what? Nothing happens. You know what I'm saying? We see black people in the car with the gun right there. Visible sight, and get shot and murdered. He ain't even pointing. You see what I'm saying? So what we're asking for is not to be better, but just to be equal. You know what I'm saying? Give us the same respect that you give your children when they go out there. Wrong, right, or indifference, give us the same respect. That's all.
I appreciate that, man. Go ahead, Herschel. You want to say something, man?
Yeah, it's like everything was wrong with that day. You know what I'm saying? It's like people want to pit sides and say who did what. I mean, everybody was at fault. When I mean everybody, I mean the community. The community. You know what I'm saying? Just from day one. I mean, it's from the parents, from the lack of the parents, from the police officer, his training. He obviously doesn't sit. To me, he seems like another one of the officers that should not be in that position. You shouldn't have that job because he seemed like he panicked, but he did probably what he was trained to do. He just comes in there. He doesn't know who is who and what's going on. So all he did was just out of panic to start shooting, when he saw a knife and saw a threat. But, it's like, I just feel that like when I tell, when I was providing therapy to families and kids in juvenile court system, like, it just starts at home. It starts at home as far as how we rear our children up and teach them certain things. What I teach my son is I teach him the things about every person. This is my opinion. My opinion is that every person has a good side of them and a bad side of them. Just like those cartoons, they have the angel and the devil on each shoulder. You know what I'm saying? Each person has a good side and a bad side. So I teach my son, I say, try your best to minimize how many times you use that bad side of yourself, because 9 times out of 10, you make poor decisions. You don't think things well, and there's bad outcomes to that. You know, so like, even like Chauvin, you know what I'm saying? That was obviously clearly his bad side of him. You know what I'm saying? What he did. Had he not been on that bad side, you know, George Floyd might still be alive today. You know, same thing with this young lady. You know, I don't know if that was her house or what, or she called the police or whatever. Had she just stayed in her house as that form of self-defense, she might still be alive today. Or if it was a different cop that came onto the scene that was better trained, you know, who did think to use the taser or try to de-escalate without having to just pull his gun out. So, you know, be trigger happy. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, I'm on the fence with everything too. But again, I feel that I don't want to blame not one person, you know, and I definitely don't want to blame the young lady, because she was young. She's a child. You know what I'm saying? She's a child. You know, developmentally, we don't think rationally about certain things too. You know, I see Joe. You got something? You want to chime in?
No, because I agree with what you're saying, but I do have a question about the whole thing about panicking, because I hear this a lot from police officers. They find themselves in a situation, and people want to justify the fact that they panicked and so forth. And and the question I keep asking myself is that becoming the new excuse?
Right.
Because to me, you're not drafted into the police department. You joined the police department.
Yeah.
And well, just like the military for now. But I'm just saying, I keep hearing all this panic stuff. It just reminds me of a day, and maybe I mentioned this before on this program, that there was a woman police officer that was having this discussion with this dude at Starbucks, and the guy was like, "Hey, we respect what you do." All the accolades he was giving the police officer. She said, "Yeah, thank you for that, because you know what? At the end of the day, we're just trying to get home to our families." And I understand that on the basic level, but when you get caught in a situation like this, and then you want to go back to the panic thing, I don't know. I mean, and listen, I'm not a police officer. I only play one on TV. I'm just asking. Does that become now the excuse? Are we as a society accepting this excuse? Because I'm telling you right now, I'm not.
We shouldn't. It's a new get out of jail free card. So no, I don't accept it. Just like the officer who mistook her taser for the gun. I call BS. I'm sorry. You know, so that's exactly. And the thing is, I have people in my family who are police officers. I have friends who are Detroit police officers or whatnot. You know, so I know both sides of it, but at the same time, it's like, how do you, your guns on one side, tasers on the other side? They look different, you know. And aren't they trained not to panic? I don't know.
Supposedly, yeah. That's what I'm saying.
So how can we use that as out?
I got some family members of police officers and stuff like that, and I know some friends and stuff that are police officer. They got this thing called a review board when they review the shootings and stuff, and then they got another word called justified shootings. This is going ahead with the young lady in Ohio. It's going ahead to a review board, and then it's going to be a justified shooting because they got to look at the whole repercussion. Was she's in an act of trying to stab somebody? If so, you have to use equal force to and that's the loophole. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
If they could justify the shooting, guess what? They get away with it.
He's not going to get charged.
All they want to do is justify it. He can
not going to get charged.
Yeah.
Let me ask this question, because I got to ask this question. So this topic of training, it comes up a lot, right? So we talk about these cops need to be trained better, or they need to go through better training, right? So this would help prevent some of these situations. But I'm just curious, right? Like, what was the training in this situation? So I got a dude with an AR in his hand walking right next to the cop after he just murdered a couple people on the street. So like, what does the training tell you in that situation? Like, I'm just curious. Like I said, this training comes up a lot when these situations happen, and we're like, the cop didn't have good training, or he didn't go through the training, and I'm like, I don't think you can be certified a cop until you go through the training. So my question is, what is in the training manual? Like, what are they being trained on? Because cops clearly know how to not shoot a person, but then in the young lady's case,
it's the White Officer Training Handbook. That's what it is.
I'm sorry.
I just want to know.
That's what it is.
I want to know what it is.
To me,
what's being trained? Like, is the proper things getting trained?
No, this is what happens, and Shirley won't vouch for me too. I'm gonna say like this: it's just like when you go into the military. You're trained to define an enemy, and they make sure they keep on giving you this enemy. This is your enemy. Even in the police force, they say, "Hey, drug dealers, black people, black men dressed like this, they thugs and stuff." Now understand this: when you keep drilling into this, because like, look, I went to Desert Storm, Desert Shield. You know what I'm saying? My grandfather went to Korean, and my father went to Vietnam. But we all have different looks at people because of our training. You see what I'm saying? So the police force get the same training as the military. You got to identify an enemy. You got to give them a purpose. So when you go into these neighborhoods that you said that are a combat zone, they train them to be in a combat set mind. You know what I'm saying? The picture you showed is the young man. He believes in the government. He's the throne of government. You know what I'm saying? He walking around there. Anybody that don't agree with his policies or his beliefs is an enemy to him. But the police department is trained just almost like the military, but their war is with their own citizens. You see what I'm saying? So they identify certain citizens because guess what? They wouldn't have a job if everybody was peaceful or they didn't see no threat. If they didn't see no threat, what are they gonna do? You know what I'm saying?
And it's amazing that this guy's 2 years. This kid was 2 years younger than the young lady that got shot, and his mother drove him to that location.
Yeah,
like it was some type of day, like he was going to Dagon, I don't know, Little League practice.
Yeah, but you think about it. You think about these new militias. Call them what you want, militias and stuff like that. But they did that in the 60s. They did that in the 80s. They did that in the 90s. Nothing's changed, just the name. That's it.
Hey, let me add something to that. When they have militias, they're called militias, and somehow they're the good people. When we have organizations, they're the bad ones. The Black Panthers are looked at as evil. Like Farrakhan, Malcolm X, they're looked at as evil, but they have militias. We have organizations. I don't understand like what world that works as far as who's bad, who's good.
Yeah,
my character was confronted by a Black Panther last night on TV, so it's funny when you bring that up. But anyway, go ahead.
Let me go to Shirley Ann real quick. Go ahead, Shirley Ann.
Well, good evening, family.
Good evening.
So I agree with C. Prince as far as training. However, when we were in the military, everybody went through the same boot camp. Everybody got the same training. There was no isolated training except maybe if you had an issue with your weapon, then you would go out for remedial training because you had to meet the standards of the protocol, whatever it is that they wanted you to do. And they as far as marksmanship, you got different rankings within your marksmanship, which was utilized identified as a target as to where they wanted to place you and how they wanted to utilize you. Because if you wasn't an expert shooter, you were not necessarily going to be on the front line if they could identify that up front. If you were a sharpshooter, you went midways, and if you were whatever, So my thing is this: we have to accept the fact that these individuals, if you check their roots, they have been groomed and trained, and it's within their DNA. we don't call it the Ku Klux Klan anymore. However, if you go research, there is a trend somewhere, I'm sure, within their pattern where someone, because hatred is taught first and foremost, and the first person that hated the human race, because we're all humans, was Satan. That's his agenda, to destroy the entire human race. What has happened is, with the people, we have begun to identify not from a human race, but from the skin tone. So we have a skinology problem, technically, within our country. And then we also not only have that skinology problem, but a human problem, because I was just sitting here kind of looking at the news, and they're advertising that dogs don't belong in cages. They belong in foster homes. Now you're talking an animal, a creature, period. So when you also get flashes through your commercials, they'll ask you for a donation of $19 a month. What else do you see? You see people from Africa and everybody else, all they want is $19 a month. So I believe that we have to really understand our self-worth and our value, because we are the threat to others, or you are a threat to someone, based on even with my not only military training, but equal opportunity training, human relations, and all of that. You tend to be a threat to someone when the individual is not confident in who they are and what they are doing. So when these officers, I believe, shoot a person of color versus pulling out a taser, I don't want to hear this thing that's not acceptable of I was confused which hand I used, because guns are placed on certain parts of your body and the taser's on another part of your body, and both of those instruments or tools are shaped differently and they have a different feel. We have to understand that the only reason Chauvin, and of course we have to be compassionate there, because that whole piece was jacked up all the way around. Another family kind of messed up too, if we just gonna tell the truth. It is what it is, right? And there's compassion. With Christ, there is truly compassion. Ultimately, he's either gonna commit suicide or somebody's gonna kill him, because he was definitely used by the enemy. Because when you look at him, when he was sitting on his neck, his hand in his pockets, and when you look at these people's cereal or whatever, and we got the psychologist Herschel in the room as well, he was very stoic. It was as if he was empty. When you look at somebody that even of color that has done something horrific, and you look at that mugshot or whatever, they are empty. And we have to remember that we cannot use the same tactics that the enemy uses to defeat the enemy, technically. We have to understand the tactics that the enemy uses and then strategically outsmart the enemy. Because if you're playing the same game that the enemy is playing, and they're the one that designed the game, who do you really think is going to win? Because they've already strategically planned another step. So the reason George Floyd case went the way it went, I believe, is because of what I'm sitting here talking to you on right now, the cell phone video. Had there not been a video, there would have not been a verdict of guilty on all three charges.
Correct.
And we have to understand that. As far as the young girl, I mean, I saw a little bit of it. No, she shouldn't have been stabbing people. Yes, she should have been in her house or whatever. However, the officer made a conscious choice, especially based on the number of rounds that he fired, with the intent to kill her. And we have to understand that it is acceptable for them to have a white male with a AR-15 or whatever in the streets, and they allow him to lay that rifle down and they don't take him out. We have to understand that it's not okay, but in their mindset, it's okay to storm the Capitol the way the Capitol was stormed on January 6th. That is acceptable. And we have to understand that, unfortunately, in America, we cannot do what people that don't look like us do and expect to get the same results. It's like we're out of our mind to expect for something like that to happen, because it's not going to happen. And I believe that we have to come back to community. And I'm not making any excuses when I say this. I'm keeping it real. Somebody might not like it or not. We have to stop killing ourselves by thereby giving people permission to do what they do to us. When they see that we have linked arms together, if you hit Chloe, Tristina, whoever, then Shirley Ann, Joe, C. Prince, we got their back. That's what our community used to be. Therefore, our community could not be infiltrated. Our community is infiltrated, I believe, because not all of us, but far too many of us have forgotten our roots, and we're very selfish. I got mine, you figure out how to get yours. And we have been so stereotyped, and I'm going to be quiet after this. For the most part, we have been typically stereotyped, most of us, that if we see a black male coming anywhere near us or whatever, if we're sitting in our car or if we got our purses, we'll lock our doors immediately. We have been taught to be afraid of each other instead of embracing the power that we bring. And other people recognize that we have power. And when we talk like we're talking today, for some, we are a threat because in their mindset, it's who are you that you can think like that? Or you feel you have that kind of right. And so until we really go back and teach our children who they really are, not arrogance, I mean, not any of this crazy stuff. When I looked at, with Emmett King, Till, and then when the state versus the Klan from the older woman whose son they hung or whatever, when we looked at them, they carried themselves with dignity and respect. I don't care if grandma couldn't press her hair or whatever, but it looked some kind of way and she put a nice hat on her head and they were distinguished people. We have forgotten because we are allowing society to dress us and our children and tell us who we are, and that is not who we are. And the buck has to stop, not with them, it has to stop with us. Because I remember growing up, if you did something crazy, the neighbor told your parents what you were doing. And they would say, what's your last name? I know you, who people are you? Don't play that. We don't do that here. Today, we drive in our garages, we let them down, and we go in our houses, and we think we're better off than where we came from. Thank you.
Oh, I'm going to say something to everybody who's listening here. We're not calling the officer in Columbus a racist because we don't know. What we're saying is he did his job how he was trained. So
hold on, C. Prince. We don't know what you mean.
Yeah, he's a racist. Yeah, he's a racist. We don't know he's a racist. We don't know. He was trained to do a job a certain way.
But then how do you explain?
Who trained him that though? Who would you say trained him to do that?
Because that's how the police listen. When you think about it, I've been beat up by police. I know some of y'all been probably handled by the police incorrectly. When they come into our communities, they come in a combative way. There's some police officers.
But isn't that racist?
No, but no, it's their training. Understand, when you train a certain way, you're gonna act a certain way. You're not. They're not saying you're a racist. Listen, y'all think. Because listen to this. I was trained to shoot Iraqi people all day long. Does that make me a racist?
Okay, I'll wait. Hold on, for clarification. So you're not saying the police force trained him that way. You saying that's more on the job training, like he learned that?
Yeah, I'm saying that he goes into an area. I'm saying because you don't want to call somebody a racist and don't know for a fact that they're racist. That's what I'm saying. You want to give everybody the benefit of the doubt. You know what I'm saying? Until it's proven that he's a racist. And I grew up in Virginia, Joe. So I know.
But how do you prove someone's a racist, C. Prince? Just asking to educate me. How do you prove, or how do you know or clarify that someone is a racist?
Their actions are going to show they're racist. You can't judge a person. Like I said, if you look at George Floyd situation, you could tell he had intent. You know what I'm saying? We don't know. We know he had intent to do his job in Ohio. And I'm saying this, I'm on the fence with this because I think he could have, you know what I'm saying, because you have war with your people. black, white.
Do you know if a police officer that pulled someone, a white person over because they had air freshener in their car? Do you know if police officers that will pull a white person over and arrest someone over a fake $20 bill? I mean, I'm lost here because
I'm saying this, bro. Yes, we know there's racism in the police department, right? But we can't always account things to racism when it's probably some of it's training.
I don't think it's training. I think it's a matter of choice.
I can't agree with that.
I think it's a matter of choice because they don't train them.
Everybody gets one at a time. Go ahead, Shirley. You can respond. Go ahead, Shirley.
I'm sorry. Everyone gets the same training. Now, as Quay said, some OJT. So let's say Chloe, Tristina, and I, we roll together. We're on the same job, but we know how to act when we on the job because certain protocol keeps us in line, right? But when we rolling out by ourselves, we like, yo, I'm going to go get this person here. I'm going to do this here, that, there. Man, you ready? So I just think that a lot of it has to do with character. And before I can even go to a police force, I need to have a character check. And periodically, you need to bring me in to talk to a psychologist or someone to make sure that I can handle some of the stressors because they deserve to go home like everybody else. Because when that issue happened, you had folks get killed in Georgia and they were policemen and all they did was a simple traffic stop, right? But you have to make sure that there are balances. So there's evil on both sides. The issue is they have to be accountable. But when I was growing up, the policemen that were in my community lived in my community. They knew us. Today, that is not the case. I can live in Timbuktu and drive across the road and be in that community. Nobody knows me. I don't know how the community rolls. So I come in with my own ideology, and you got to do what I say you got to do, knowing that that's not the temperament of your community. And oh, by the way, if I think your community is rowdy, and I can use the fact that I feel threatened by you. So to me, the police need to reform from the perspective of assigning them within the communities that they live so that they can work, so that we can build the bond. And they need to also hold the community accountable. And we need to get rid of this snitching stuff. Yeah, if you went and broke in somebody's house or you did this, that, and the other, I'm not going to hide you in my basement because now we are also a part of the problem. I just think that when they all get the same training.
No,
nobody's getting individual training.
Think about this, and this is we all get the same training. Understand? They get the same training. I'm not saying that. But their training do have effect. Look, now look at this. I'm gonna ask the board. There are certain areas in your community that you know not to go to. You know not to go to this community. Like certain hoods you will not go to because you know it's high crime. We know it in our own community. What communities don't go to? Because if you're not from there, you don't belong there. You know that. But at the same time, if we know that, the police force know that. You know what I'm saying? And then the police force is going to treat them the same way we treat them. You see what I'm saying? So it's not like, it's not like a secret. So when they get training on the job training, Kawhi said, hey, when you go into this community, you got to be on your A game. You got to treat it as a hostile threat. And they getting trained by the veterans that's been there, and they repeat the same cycle over and over. This community don't get better, it don't heal because the people don't heal, the police department don't heal, nothing heals. It's the same cycle, the same community over and over again. Different generation and different events, but it still gets there. Like, look, I grew up in Hampton, Virginia, Newport News. I grew up in the bottoms. You know what it is. Down the bottom, don't get twisted. You ain't from there, don't come there. But guess what? It's starting to get a little bit better because they're starting to clean it up and the people are starting to respond to this. You see what I'm saying? It's not all the way good, but we know certain streets, certain avenues, we don't belong there, don't go there.
No, I get that. Let me go to Chloe next. I just want to say this real quick, then we're gonna go to Chloe. My only issue with that, C Prince, is these cats be killing black folks in the burbs, bro. I'm talking about wealthy. I'm talking about wealthy areas. I mean, all of these killings ain't taking place in the hood. So I understand what
I agree.
I understand what you're saying. But I said, when you look at some of the backgrounds in these areas where these folks is getting shot and murdered at, man, I mean, these is like nice little suburbs, man. So I just want to put that out there.
But their training don't change. They still identify who's their enemy or who.
I feel you. I feel like it still comes back to character, though. Like I said, it's outside of training, man. This is in people's character. Go ahead, Chloe. I want to let you go. Go ahead, Chloe.
Yeah, go.
I mean, I think we're talking about, and maybe if we change the language, then it'll make more sense. We're talking about bias, right? So it's not necessarily that we're always talking about racism. Sometimes we're just talking about a personal bias. Shirley Ann pointed to it earlier when she said even we can have biases that exist within our own community about certain people within our own community. So we're talking about a bias. So it's not. I agree. I don't know that it's training. I think that they do get trained all the same way. But you take that training, right? That training to where I get what you're saying, see, Prince. They have to identify their enemy and they get trained to do that. But imagine if you already have a bias towards a person, you can make that person your enemy, right? Now they become that person that even though maybe you weren't trained specifically to attack that person or to go after that specific person. If you have a pre-existing bias against any particular people, then they're going to start to fit that. You're going to make them fit that profile, right? So now you're going to see them as your enemy. So it doesn't matter what community you're in, you've made that person a target now. They're a target for you. So now you're going to take that training that you got and you're going to apply it to that person because you have a bias about that person. I mean, I think we have to understand that, and I think they have done a good job at sort of the social conditioning when it comes to us not always wanting to trust each other and not wanting to trust the people in our own communities. Like, they've done a really good job on us. That's why it's so easy for people to say, oh, this was their fault, or excuse me, whatever the case may be, because they have done a pretty good job on us in that sense. But I also just, I caution people, and this will probably just be my closing, but I caution people because, like I said earlier, like, we still have to identify who we are and where we are. And there's just some things about this reality that I hate to say it this way, because I'm not a pessimistic person, like I'm not, but there's just certain things about this reality that's just not going to change. These are systemic issues. And in order for any of the things like to us looking out for each other in our communities, yes, I say if we want to make any kind of change happen, it does have to start with us. And I would say focus your attention on your own community. Focus your attention on, getting to know your neighbors. Focus your attention on, being a better neighbor. Focus your attention on looking out for the kids around you in your area. Focus your attention on doing things within your community that are going to have a direct effect on the people in your community. Because at this point, that's where I feel like we can make the most change. Some of the things that we're talking about with equity and inequality, I hate to say it, but that's a real steep hill to climb. And the people who have the deciding factor about a lot of those things are not yet invested in that type of change. And the truth is, I don't think they're ever going to be truly invested in that, because it'll start to affect their place and their positioning, and they're just not simply going to do it. They're just not. So it becomes us trying to figure out how within our community can we help improve things within our community, and focus on that. I feel like our attention and our energy would just be much better served with that. And, I mean, y'all always know I'm gonna come from a spiritual perspective. Like, pick up a Bible every once in a while. It'll tell you exactly what's going on and why. Like, not only that, but you need to know who you are and whose you are. And I think that also will give you some perspective on why the things that are happening to you are happening. I mean, I think that you just can't discount that. And I'm not talking about, the fact that there's a church on every corner. I understand that, and I actually think that's really bad. But I just really, I feel like people need to, we need to refocus our energies. Like I see us wasting a lot of time. I'll be honest. Like I see the protests and all that, and I'm not saying you don't need to bring awareness to an issue or awareness to an injustice, but I have yet to see a protest where, it has actually affected any type of change. If anything, they just send agents in there, and it's chaos and it's confusion, and it just makes the situation worse. So I would employ people to just really refocus their energy. Like the instance with Ma'Khia, if those adults that were around her maybe would have, and I don't know the situation. I'm just saying, if there was somebody sensible around her that would have said, "Wait, I got to try to break this up. Let's try to squash this so that we don't have to have no cops come into our community and do this. Right. This we can do. We don't need them to come in here and do this." Had that maybe been a thought, then maybe we wouldn't be having this conversation about Ma'Khia right now.
Right.
I'm gonna say something to you, Chloe. You have used the word bias, and I really agree with that word. His personal bias,
a good choice.
I will take that over racism any day. His personal bias might influence his shoe, but to call him a racist when you don't have no facts to support, I agree. His bias might play a big part.
I brought it up early, implicit bias.
Yep.
I brought it up early, implicit bias. I don't know how you solve implicit bias. I brought that up.
Yeah. So you have to remember also what's the mission of the police force. So when I served in the Army, there was a mission for me to protect and to serve the people of the United States of America. The police, their mission is to protect and to serve. So when they go into a community, it's not that you're supposed to be my enemy. They're not fighting. They're not on foreign grounds. I love my son's movie, A War on Friendly Ground. They're supposed to go into the community to see how can we protect and serve. So when I'm serving someone, then that means I'm putting my personal biases and whatever else aside, and I'm assessing. When you go to war, you assess the situation before you make a decision to make a move. So we are not holding people accountable. So even when we're doing the marches or whatever, not we, because I'm not out there marching, but people have to, and when you had the Stokely Carmichaels, the Angela Davis, the Malcolm X's, Martin Luther King Jr., Beulah May, these people were going after legislation change. They were wanting to change the laws. You don't get anything done. That's why this George Floyd bill, they're wanting to happen because it impacts legislation. So when you can change legislation, then you have given yourself leverage. Because guess what? This is what the law says. And we have to remember, we live not necessarily in a country, but truthfully, we live within a corporation. And we have to understand the fact as we live within the corporation, these United States of America, since it's a corporation, everyone plays a role. We know why we were brought here from the very beginning. We have to be honest to ourselves because you have so much integration now going on. They didn't expect that when they did the integration as far as the races and all that. When they introduced that, they didn't expect what they're getting now because you got a whole bunch of people out there protesting or whatever that don't look like the people that may be getting killed. What did George Floyd say? A girlfriend say, you killed my man, right? So that's new, that's different. So when you have someone that feels that they're supreme to somebody else, then the other people are a threat. And there are a lot of white people, old money, I'm in power, blue eyes or whatever, Ku Klux Klan mentality, skinheads, blah, and a blah, and a blah. And I feel that the only person that can be a minority is a person that don't look like me.
which I don't get that one. I'll never call myself a minority because I'm not subservient to anybody, period, ever. But the only person that can be the majority is the white male. And so now the majority, so-called, feels threatened because of the interracial mixes, and they don't want anyone else by numbers to overtake them because they know that they have done a lot of evil to a lot of people, and there is a fear that what they did to other people is going to come back up on them. So I'd rather take you out now while I can before I let you take me out.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that, Trilla.
Okay, I just saw something that went across the screen real quick. There's the hate bill that just passed through the House, which is unusual about it is it was 94-1. So that means there wasn't bipartisanship. Okay. Now I'm gonna get into it a little bit, right? There was truths. Everybody on this panel said truths. Everyone. So let me start with C. Prince. What he said, what I took away from it was that before we label something as there's a bias, we need to investigate and look at all the things on the table to say, hey, he's racist or hey, he's biased. I'm not sure we did it all the way with Ma'Khia. Let me go back a little bit and go with Chloe's, what I felt what Chloe said, that there needs to be calm. It's so much to unpack, so much to unpack. But I mean, even the last week and a half is so much to unpack. But let's go back to the military man that was sprayed. Where was the calm in that? The police weren't calm. He was. Let's go back to Ma'Khia. Where was the calm in that? It was chaos all around. So I'm gonna get into it a little bit here. It's not gonna be popular, but it's the truth. I can't remember how many people died in the last week and a half. I think it was 4, right? We need to look at everything. So with Ma'Khia, as a gun owner, as somebody that looks at tools, we have to look at every single piece of tools and see how they're used. A gun is a tool. A taser is a tool. Handcuffs are tools. Pepper spray are tools. So what are the tools used for? What's their strengths? What's their weaknesses? With Ma'Khia, a tool was used. And I hate that a tool was used, but a tool was used. People are saying, what if she got tased? If you don't connect 2 of the tasers in the body, you can't, the taser doesn't work. You get one of the taser's parts in, you won't stop them. As a gun owner and as a police person, you're supposed to assess the threat and use the right tools to stop the threat. When you pull a gun, your intention to use a gun is to ultimately stop the threat, which is kill someone. So the officer, he pulled a tool, the gun. There's a lot of things going on. People were moving. He shot 4 times. I hate that he shot 4 times, but I do have to acknowledge that all 4 bullets were accurate. He didn't shoot the other person as well. When there's a threat as a police officer, you can't just think as if it's a threat to yourself. You have to think as, is there a threat to society as well? There was a knife. She was in a position to inflict harm. There was chaos all around. If I was, okay, I have to say is how I feel, and then I have to be a devil advocate of it as well, which is kind of tricky, right? I feel that the right tool in this case was used. If I was a person about to be stabbed, if I was a parent or anything else, the target, I hate to say it, the target was stopped. It's unfortunate, even before we go into the bias as far as why they were so quick to shoot the gun or anything else. There was something in real time going on. And as a if I put my shoes in a police officer's thing, what do you do in that situation? If you don't do nothing and she kills someone, are you responsible? I feel yes. If you use a trigger, are you responsible? I say yes. We have to look at the cause and reaction of everything. So again, I'm sorry to be long-winded. All these 4 cases where I'm gonna say 3 of the cases we know a little bit more. The last one about the young man that got killed that had a warrant or something, we don't really know too much about it, which is kind of appalling. But the last 3 cases, there was 3 things going on. Let's say the first one. The first one was the one where the funeral was today with the young man that got pulled over because of his tags or the air freshener or whatever. He got pulled over. Can I see that he got pulled over as legitimate? Yes. Can I say that that if he was white, he might not have got pulled over? I can say yes. But he got pulled over. If he wasn't trying to run, would any of this happen? I would say no. If he wasn't trying to run. So his reaction, it could be so many reactions to that. She is supposed to be, she's an officer. I don't care how long she's been on there. She's 23 years, so she really should know. But as an officer, you're supposed to know, okay, the taser goes in your non-dominant side. A gun goes in your dominant side. She should have known that she pulled a gun. It looks different. It feels different. I mean, I understand she said taser, or no, she said taser like 4 times before saying taser. She should have known. So if he got tased, I don't think this would have been a thing. Let's say, and then I'm gonna kind of brief over that. Let's go to the young man that the kid that was holding the gun in Chicago that ended up dropping the gun before getting shot. If you hold a gun and you have a gun in society and you're approaching a situation as a cop, you're going to have to be attentive. He dropped the gun. The cop should have saw that, but for the parent or for the kid, I'm saying I'm not going to blame the kid. The parent, if you have a gun, you should know that you can be shot and it can be justified, whether it's from a citizen or a police. It could be justifiable. So we got to look at it 2 different ways again, whether it's from a citizen side or, from a police side of I saw a threat. That can go either way. With Ma'Khia, that's a little bit more defined as far as she was in the act of doing something. Again, there's so much to unpack here. As a society, as we're talking about these social issues, we got to know where to plant a flag at. I'm not sure if we need to plant the flag with Ma'Khia because what do you do? Everybody needs to go home, and she should have went home. She's 16 years old. She should have been home. She should have gotten home. But what the hell do we do? We got, again, devil's advocate as a police officer. What do you do? I feel like, hey, he shot, he made a decision. I don't really feel like it's a bad decision. I feel like the situation was chaos. I don't know where to stop at this. I'm going to stop here.
Awesome. Go ahead, Shirley.
One thing, if I can. I empathize and I see where you are. It's disparity of treatment. That's what it's called. Mm-hmm. So again, if the white male can walk the streets with an AR-15 and the policemen are on site, that's a freaking threat because he could have sprayed whoever, whatever, and had just finished killing people. I don't understand. And I agree, they have to assess the situation. No, the young lady should have not had the knife. Yes, she should have went home and what have you. He could have lamed her. He did not have to kill her. All I'm saying, there is disparate treatment because, again, of depending on your skin tone, depending on your gender, makes a decision as to what the officer is going to do or not to do. He did not have to take that child's life. He could have lamed her in a different way. Okay, got it. Taser may have not worked. He could have shot her in the leg. That would have got her attention or whatever. But to shoot to kill, and when you have someone else that looks like you and you're the officer and they can kill you and you don't take them down, to let people go bombard the Capitol, to climb, to break windows, to do everything. You don't mace them. You don't do anything with them. I have an issue with accepting that as acceptable behavior. I call that disparity in treatment. And it's a matter of choice.
I agree. Again, what are we asking for? We're asking for equality, right? I might again go back. We might not get to it tonight. Of asking for equality or demanding equality, we need to have need to be a serious conversation, right? But we were asking for equality, so I feel like the same treatment should have happened for the young punk that was holding the AR-15. He should not have been able to walk away from that damn situation. It pisses me the F off that he was able to get that far. I think they waved to him afterwards. They gave him water before. That should not have happened. But again, on the flip side, when you have a gun, when you use a tool like a gun, you're using a tool, the gun to, like, as a citizen, as a gun owner, I'm not using a gun. I'm not using a gun to stop to hurt you. I'm using the gun to stop you ultimately, so that I'm not harmed. My family's not harmed. The situation not harmed. If she got shot in the leg when the way she was in the position, would that have stopped her from stabbing? She might have got shot in the leg and she might have still stabbed the person.
That's right.
But
so again, as a gun,
I'm sorry. What's more of a threat, a gun or a knife? If you're going to assess those situations.
So again, every tool has a thing. So in certain cases, a knife can be more harmful, especially at point blank, than a gun. If you cut an artery, you're gone. So again, ultimately, I would rather have a gun, if that's the question. But a knife is an effective weapon. Again, you're not shooting a person to. I talked to my buddy today, my homeboy, and we have a lot of the serious discussions, right? We can't expect the police to be like a movie scene where someone gets shot in the arm and they're done. For him to shoot 4 times was appalling. For him to shoot 4 times and be accurate was like, wow, he was accurate. He didn't shoot anybody else. He was accurate. If he had shot in an arm, a moving target like an arm, he might not have been accurate. He might have shot the girl. He might have shot something to ricochet or anything else.
That's right.
As when you use a gun to kill. And I hate to say it, but you don't use a gun to shoot a limb. Which is, again, if you're going to shoot a limb, you're using the wrong tool.
Okay, I can see that, though. Would you say what he did was excessive force? Did he have to shoot her 4 times?
No, I don't.
No, not at all.
Because the Army teaches 3 taps. You know what I'm saying? Understand this. I don't think nothing is excessive force when you disperse your firearm. But I will say this. I feel like the generation after me does not understand racism to a point, and because guess what, the same fights that we fought in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, y'all still fighting in 2000. Y'all still fighting the same fight that we fought, and it's not y'all fault. You know what I'm saying? Y'all fighting a little bit better than us. Y'all progressing a little bit better than us. Because when I look at these people on TV, these spokesmen for our community, they failed in the 70s, they failed in the 80s, they failed in the 90s. And guess what? They pissing their failures, but when they win, they at forefront acting like they won something. Mm-hmm. Like they won something. You was a failure back then, you still a failure now. Just because one verdict or one thing changed, you want to take credit like you was the forefront of this movement. And my thing is this. There's people like Quad, Chloe, y'all younger than me. don't repeat the same mistakes that our generation. We marched, we rioted, we did all that. Yes, and it didn't change nothing. Y'all got to do better than us.
Yeah, but I think the difference is, see, Prince. I'm gonna be honest. I'm struggling with this one. Because what I am trying to figure out is it always feels like there's this energy that it is somehow still our fault. Like I said, we watch our people, or people who look like us, literally get murdered. Like I said, so we was just geeked up because we got some guilty verdicts from a murder, and within that day and the next day, 2 more people were murdered. Like I said, now we down to a 15, 16-year-old young lady in Ohio. You know, we just looked at Dante Wright the other day, you know, with the mistaken taser the gun discussion. We've looked at the church shootings. We've looked at people getting shot down in the street with my man with the AR-15. Like, so we see this stuff on a regular basis, and somehow it still ends up somehow being our fault. Like I said, as I listen to the arguments and the discussions, don't get me wrong, I said we need to have these discussions because we all have different perspectives. But that energy always exists. It always still exists in these discussions. There's always points within the discussion where it is still somehow our fault. You know, in the Philando Castile situation, oh, he shouldn't have reached for his, shouldn't have reached in his pocket. And it's like, well, the cop just asked him to get his ID out. So what did you expect? You know, with the young fella in the park, oh, he shouldn't have been in the park playing with, with the thing that looked like a gun. It's like, okay, kids do that all the time. But so that was his fault as well. You know, this young lady, she shouldn't have had a knife. You know, that's why that happened. You know what I'm saying? That's her fault. You know, the young fella that just got killed yesterday with the warrant being served. You know, oh, he shouldn't have tried to escape, or he shouldn't have asked questions. You know, or the list goes on and on. You know, all of the black folks who got shot up in the church. You know, oh, they shouldn't have been at Bible study that late. Like, it's always something. And I'm just trying to figure out at what point do we just understand that there's a clear and obvious bias. Like, it's obvious at this point. And watching this situation from the young lady, the young lady, Micaiah in Ohio. I mean, the cop literally comes to the scene. It's just a video that I saw. The cop literally comes to the scene, hops out the car. I hear somebody mumbling, saying something, and then he starts shooting. Like, I didn't see no investigation begin. I didn't see no questions. I didn't see him call no names. He started shooting. And mind you, he was shooting at this young lady at the vehicle while other people were standing at the vehicle. So who's to say that he didn't put those people in risk at the same time while he was murdering this young lady? Like, nobody is talking about that because everybody ain't accurate from 20 feet out. So let's just be honest. But at the end of the day, even with all of these situations being obvious and presenting themselves time and time again, there's always a response of what we shouldn't or shouldn't have done in the situation. And I'm just trying to figure out, like, ultimately my grand scheme of question is what should we be doing? Right. So we see folks comply, they still get shot and killed and murdered. We see people don't comply, they still get shot and killed and murdered. We see people sleep in their bed, they still getting shot, killed, and murdered. You know, we see somebody that they ain't even involved in the altercation, they still getting shot, killed, and murdered. So I'm just trying to understand, as a people of color, you know, I'm not going to use the black label, as a people of color, what the heck should we be doing?
Look,
like, real talk.
The girl in Ohio, he did give verbal commands to her to stop.
Okay.
He did. If you watch it, there's a full video, and he did give commands to her to stop before. I got you. So I that's what I'm saying. We got because I know in Ohio, because I got a lot of family in Ohio. They're more right now. They're looking at a situation in Cincinnati when a 13-year-old girl got her throat cut for being bullied by another black girl up there, and that's a big issue there. You know what I'm saying? Because that's a big issue. They're really not dealing with that the Buckeye shooting because they want to understand what's going on in their community. And these preachers, I got a lot of preachers in my family, so they try to deal with that. But what I'm saying is to me, I hate the word systemic racism. I do hate that because it was used in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and now it ain't changed nothing. I hate to say it like that. It ain't changed nothing. It's still around. The same word. When I was a kid, it's still around. But we use it when others done something wrong to us. So it's like a crutch. It's like a top pattern. We give them something to keep on. Understand? I know Chloe looking at me like crazy. It's a top pattern.
I'm looking at you too, bro.
I know.
Me too.
Look, think about
You got us all looking at you.
Look, hold on. If you keep using the same word over every 10 years and it still doesn't change, and you know what? We use the word insanity when you do something over and over again. If we keep using the word systematic racism in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, and now 2000, and it still ain't changed, that's insanity in our community. I'm not saying.
What is
What do you
it?
what do you want us to call bias that is so deep that it affects everything about our entire lifestyle, from the food we eat, from the neighborhoods we're allowed to live in, the cars we're able to drive, the houses we're able to buy, the schools our kids are able to attend. It affects every single piece of our entire existence. That's why we call it systemic, because it affects even the way we live our lives. It even affects our thought process. It even affects the conversation that we're having right now is even affected by systemic racism. So that's why it's called systemic, right? Because it's something that's out of our control. It's something that we did not implement. It's something that is used against us in a way. I mean, that's the whole idea behind racism, because you can't be racist without power. So racism wouldn't even be a thing. You can't be racist without power. That's why Black people can't be racist. We can be discriminatory, we can be biased, but we can't truly be racist because we can't do anything about our bias. It's just we're biased, but we can't do. We have no power to do anything about it. So this is why you use the terms systemic. Like, I understand it's overused, and I can't dispute that it's used a lot. But the reason why it's used a lot is because it still exists. It has always existed in our experience here in this country, and it's looking like it's not really going anywhere. So what else are we supposed to call it?
But this is what I'm saying. This is what gets me is we use that word, right? And then we talk about exclusion and separation. You want to be included, but you want to separate with as far as our finances and all that stuff. You understand that? We want to have our own Black banks, our all Black communities, or all that stuff, our all Black police departments. But and that's fine. You know what I'm saying? We can make our own community, but we want to be included.
Do we want to be included, or do we want power? To agree, I'm sick. So I don't have an issue with whatever word we use to describe that. I'm not appalled with the word. I'm appalled with the action. So how do we solve the action? So the action is, are we supposed to say, hey, we're here. Please see us like you see your children. Or do we say, hey, F that. Hey, we're going to have more power with our economy. You're going to come talk to us. If you want us to be to promote your products, because it's all about money. It's really all about, it's an economical thing more so than a racial thing. It's just that some of the poor white people don't realize they're in the same boat as the people they call niggas. They just think they're superior. The rich people look at them the exact same way as they look at Black people, even though a Black person is rich or not.
Listen.
I feel like, all right, I'm done asking you for permission to be equal. I'm going to demand that, hey, I'm going to do my own damn thing, and I don't give a F for what you doing over there. We're going to do our own thing, and if we get big numbers, we're going to get people all people, our kids, their people, their kids, they're gonna buy our shit. And then as far as we're gonna have some power because now we have equality or equity. Sorry, equity, not equality. We have equity, so you could come talk to us.
But you think about
so the question. Wait a minute. I want to say one more thing. The question that Kawhi said, where do we start? It might not be a direct thing to solve it, to stop it. I think we need to start by closing our windows. But we need to have a discussion amongst ourselves before we have a discussion in public. We need to come together, Al Sharpton and all the leaders, Trump. We need to have a sit down and say, and before we come present our case to America, because it's sad that we have to present ourselves as to show that we're human. But we got to present ourselves before we show that, hey, we're human. We need to get on an accord and say, hey, we can't fight each other viciously, go for each other's necks in public, because now it fuels people. It fuels the opponents saying, hey, y'all are acting like animals. Y'all don't know what y'all want. We need to have a closed door conversation and come as far as united. Even if we agree or disagree, we have to say, hey, this is. Some of us agree, some of us disagree, some of us are in the middle, but this is where we stand. This is ultimately what we want. We want this. Let's not fight about small issues in there in the kinks. Let's talk about what ultimately we want and how we want it done.
I'm gonna tell you like this: we the only population in America, right? Right. I'm gonna check this out. Let's go. You got a Germantown, you got Little Italy, you got a Chinatown, you got all these other national. You got Little Mexico. We got hoods. We got projects.
But you know why that is though. Redlining, right?
I know why it's there, but I'm just saying. They stick together. They stick together. And on the West Coast, they stick together bad. They was running blacks out of their own communities. You know what I'm saying? The Mexicans, like, no blacks on the streets. They were doing it. I hate to say it like that.
So you go back,
but you also got to think about too. For back in the day, when we had stronger black communities, a lot of times what happened was in their domain happened. It happened in Detroit when they built 375. It happened in Camden when they built the road through Camden. So a lot of our stronger black communities were destroyed because, hey, we got to get a new freeway to get downtown. You know, so we can't just say
everyone gonna like it.
We didn't. Exactly. So you have to think about it where yes, systemic racism and all that. Yes, we use it a lot, but it's so deep within who we are and how America has taken down the black community. Every time black people have tried to build something or even been successful at building something, they come and say, hey, you know what? Snatch it back. We're going to riot. We're going to take it back. Every time, even with the Black Panthers, people want to look at the Black Panthers. If you notice, when the Black Panthers really started getting in government's ad, or the government started getting them, is when they started getting with the people in Kentucky, the white people in Appalachia. They don't talk about that. But if you notice, every time when we start coming together to do things not only for our community but for poor whites, that's when the government's like, we gonna stop that. Yeah, we can't have that.
I'm gonna say this. Yeah. I'm gonna say this. You got to think about this. When we do things, we move, and we move. Right now, we're more divided as a culture. We're divided because we can't come together as a culture. Because you think about it, everybody says we influence the world market. We all know that. Everything in the world market, from the way they dress, talk, act, sports. It's us. We know that. You know
Do we have equity in it though?
No, it's not about we don't have equity, because guess what? I look at the NFL draft, NBA draft. That's still a slave market to me. It's just the only thing different. You're getting paid because you don't own nothing. You don't own nothing. Yeah. They trade and barter you just like commodities. Understand? Barter you a million, you're a slave because
we're the spokesmodels, but we're spokesmodels for their companies. When are we gonna stop being spokesmodels for their companies or being hired help? And when are we gonna get equity to say, hey, I might be able to do something for your company and be a spokesmodel, but you gotta put some money in our businesses or our banks or whatever that's really gonna fuel some things.
No, we don't.
We have to have equity. We don't have equity. We just like, all right, y'all hot. Y'all got a good wave. So do that in front of the camera and then put our logo or our product out there so everybody, especially the young white kids, buy it.
But you know what?
I think we are the bigger consumers, but we have to remember, it goes back to this word that Charles is talking about, systemic. We are a part of a system, and the system was designed from the very inception of bringing us from Africa to today. So the systemic racism, in my opinion, will never go away. That's how the system is and was designed. So you will expect for the systemic racism to continue from inception. So it goes also back to the Willie Lynch syndrome. Okay. It also goes back to, for me, how do we see ourselves and how do we present ourselves? And when we do get equity, we say, see, back in the day when before integration happened and we had our own stores and we had our own this, that, and the other, we were consumers amongst each others. Our dollars circulated within our community. We no longer live in our communities. Therefore, our dollars do not circulate in our communities. We take our dollars and put them in other communities, and we expect for other people to fix us, when the truth of the matter is we're really our own problem. We don't want to look in the mirror. And I don't want to buy from Quay because Quay look like me. And oh, by the way, if I go over here and do something with Herschel gonna treat me like I'm this, that, and the other. But if I deal with Tristina and Tristina's Caucasian and Tristina don't treat me right, I'm gonna have a conversation with Tristina, and it's not gonna stop me from going and buying from Tristina. We do not believe in ourselves to invest within ourselves as a result of the systemic racism from the beginning, because it was designed to teach us to not trust each other. That's why they talk to us about your skin tone. They put certain things in places in our mind. So it has to be a mindset change. It's bigger than a dollar change. You got to change the mind, because even if we had the equity, we had the stocks and what have you, and we don't know how to utilize our dollars. So, and what's the point? So we need to work at changing our minds and understanding that there is value in you. And because you have just as much value than anybody else. And, I agree with Quay. We always come up with what we would have did this, or we should have did that. The young girl with the school, she never should have had the cell phone in her hand. Again, it's disparate treatment, because if it's them doing it, we don't raise Cain and say, well, wait a minute, government, because it's the government. We are not the CEOs of this industry. We are laborers within, and that's how it was designed and is designed. And again, that's why I believe a lot of us are being taken out. Don't rise to the top and stay true to who you are. You can rise to the top and, for lack of better terms, become the token, because they can't come in the community to get what they want to get. So I got to get this token, and let me sing this and let me do that, because they're going to do it and their children are going to follow. But if I go in there and do it, they're not going to receive it. They're going to reject it. So
you forgot one thing.
I got a slogan that says this: all money isn't good money, and some money I don't want. Because what profit the man to gain the whole world and to lose it? So you better know whose dollar you playing with, because if you play with the dollar, you're going to pay the piper.
Let me say this. I'm going to say this. This is the thing. I don't like the word systemic racism. I know the board disagree, because guess what? I think like this. It's a crutch for our community. We need to start teaching our kids self-empowerment. Stop using these negative words to reinforce what's going on in society. Understand this. Listen to this. I grew up, my dad was in the Air Force. Air Force is probably one of the most prejudiced part of the branches of service. Black stayed on one side, white stayed on the other side when I grew up. Understand this. I went to school, when I say the Black National Anthem, and I said the National Anthem, we stood up as Black kids to say the Black National Anthem, and then we said the Pledge of Allegiance to the United States. Showed me that I was a second-class citizen at an early age. You see what I'm saying? Most of y'all ain't experienced that. I experienced that. You know what I'm saying? My dad told me, he said, you walk up because guess what? You're going to be better than me. You're going to look a man in his eyes and let him know that you are a man. You know what I'm saying? He didn't say you're going to ask permission to be a man. You're going to look at yourself and you're going to say, I am a man, and I'm going to carry myself as such. I taught my sons, you're going to be better than me, and you're going to walk and talk like a man. You know what I'm saying? I taught them. Not because, you know what I'm saying? Because when you start asking people to permission to call you a man, you will always ask to be called a man. Ask permission. You know what I'm saying? The thing about it is, the most important thing my father taught me was this. This is sad. You don't teach a person how to be a slave. They was born a slave. Understand this. And what he meant by that was this. Just because you come from a slave cropper, you can separate yourself from that and become a man. But if you still stay in a sharecropper mentality, you will always be a slave. I don't care what you call it. Because when you ask them to say, hey, you recognize me as such, or do you demand them to say I am? You know, I never listen, my household was different. It says Martin Luther King had a dream. Malcolm X talked about a reality. Understand this. My dad wasn't Muslim. I'm not dreaming to walk hand in hand with you. The reality is you can walk hand in with me, like it or not. I am just as equal as you. You see what I'm saying? I am just as equal as you. I don't have to ask you for permission because you're not my God. But every conversation I hear about is you asking permission or saying, hey, recognize me as such. You should demand your God-given rights. I am a man. She is a woman. Understand this.
Yeah, but we also can't forget, though, that there is a huge, long-running system of conditioning that a lot of us have been through, and our families and our parents have been through. So we can't dismiss that part. Like I said, I'm gonna slightly disagree with something that you just said. I don't believe that a person is born a slave. Now, I do believe a person can be conditioned to take on a slave mentality. But I don't think anybody, to at least this is my opinion, you know, and I'm not saying that your pops was wrong. I just don't think somebody is typically born a slave. I just think that they can be conditioned to take on a slave mentality, and allow a lot of things or participate in a lot of things that they normally wouldn't participate in or accept. But if they've been conditioned, then they will. And like I said, we see a lot of that outcome play out today. Let me see if King want to say something. King, you want to say anything, man, or you good? Because we're gonna get ready to wrap. I know we about at that time. I think we might have lost Los. Well, let me get ready to close us out. Anybody got any closing statements? Anything you want to say before we get ready to wrap?
Right before that, I got one more thing to say. Shirley, you forgot one thing, like about black businesses. There's always, hey, Shirley, can I get a hookup? you go to Meyer, you go to Kroger's, you pay list price. But if Shirley don't give me a hookup, oh, she thinks she too good.
Mm-hmm.
So again, with this whole system, this systematic or however we're gonna label it, Shirley, you hit it on a point tonight. The reason that the system, crazy enough, is working is as intended. And that's sad and effed up. But the system is working as intended. I think that it's starting to shift a little bit because as more non-minorities get involved with this, we're starting to see some things get more. There's more fuel behind it. So now how they stop the fuel, they start passing these voters' rights acts in all these places to make the thing shifted so that our votes don't count the same, or it's harder for us to vote and everything else. But I think that they understand that they actually are losing. They are actually becoming a minority themselves, and they're trying to hold on however they do, through abortions, through the abortion acts, or we're gonna let everything go, but abortions are wrong. Skip the people they killing in the streets now. Abortions are wrong, and that's where we're gonna put our flag at. They're fighting every way, form to hold on and to get us to go along with the way they want us to be. So the system has worked, and I'm hoping that the system starts to fail.
Yeah. So when you talk about abortions and liquor stores and laundromats and lottery and all those things that have been given to us, you're colored, you're Negro, you're Black, now you're brown and Black people. We're allowing other people to identify us, first and foremost, I think, from the culture side, because there's really no true leadership. And I get that you got BLM out there, but you also have to understand what's really behind BLM. BLM is a face for something that does not necessarily represent who we are. And we better wake up and smell the coffee, because it is brutal. There are a lot of distractions happening to keep us from the laws and the different things that they are now passing that are impacting our children. And by the time we wake up, the laws will already be enacted. And we'll be like, when did that happen and why? And I love all people or whatever. I heard today, I was like, what? There was Walmart, they stopped them, but there was remember that little troll doll? They had the little troll doll, and it was the female wearing the skirt, right? But when you pull the female skirt up, there was a penis. Like, what's really going on? But most folks don't hear that. Look up SB 45, all these laws and different things that's happening and passing out in California that eventually will hit the country smack dead in the face. So they have to do certain things to keep people off of their game in order to do what they're supposed to do. So we better know what really does matter. In the end, I'm just going to tell you, if you're a Christian, even in America, get ready, because they're setting it up from an Antichrist perspective, where they're passing laws right now. If you don't marry the gay, because you took their monies, the government's money for the 501(c)(3) or whatever, I now control you. You're going to do what I tell you to do, or you're not getting any more money. Why? Because people don't do what the word says, pay their tithe and what have you, and the church is self-sufficient within itself, all right? Within the community. The final thing I really want to say also, this is an excellent show. You all did a phenomenal job with the show. We all have different opinions and biases, but what we have to go do, which is the title of the show, I'm glad my son ain't on here because he'd be like, I'm trying to sum it up, but I'm not. We need to really take a look in the mirror. We need to see where we are part of the problem and change it and become a part of the solution. See, they're making money on a lot of stuff because if you find a problem and you create the solution, then you're sought out. But even if you get the money, you still need to know what to do with it and how to do it. It is not about hoarding. It's not about me getting it all. It's not about me flashing and blinging. It's not about me. And then I leave my brother and sister out there naked, ashamed, and wanting. And we need to take a serious look at mental illness and why mental illness is happening, especially within our communities, and why we're buying into the lies of others. As Quay would say, follow the money trail and you'll get the truth.
Always. Let me go down to Herschel. Herschel, you want to say anything, man, while we closing, man?
Yeah, I'm just gonna end off with this, saying that just what we need to start doing, just as a race or culture or whatever, we just need to start to just unite. That means we gotta just start to just focus on, first and foremost, your community, but don't stop there. Expand to other communities. You know what I'm saying? We gotta get to a place where we're no longer afraid of our own people. Gotta go. We gotta, because that's where I'm at already. I'll go anywhere, wherever. I mean, not like at 4 a.m. or anything, but I'm not afraid of my people. You know what I'm saying? I'll go to the east side. I'll go anywhere, and I have God on my side, so I have that protection. You know what I'm saying? So if we all start thinking more like that, we can start to unite and start to stop having those people in those areas feel like somebody is better than them, or we're worse than them. You know what I'm saying? That's going to be the start to the root of us all uniting, and then being able to have those conversations that Lavelle was talking about. You know what I'm saying? When we go together, and so before we present ourselves, you know what I'm saying? So I'm just ending with that.
Okay, no, we appreciate it, Herschel, man. I don't know, man. We don't be going on no east side, Herschel. I don't know about that, man.
Hey, I do.
I'll go
I'm just
wherever.
playing. I'm just playing.
I'm there at 4 a.m. too.
No.
I'm just playing. That's
It's part of my job. I got to. So
yeah, that's the long running east side, west side beef right there.
Right. See?
Let me go up to
You on what street? I'm good.
I drive for a living, so I got to pick people up wherever they at. So I just pray.
I ain't mad at you, man. Let me go to Nina. You want to say something, Nina? You want to say something in
I
closing?
want to say, basically, I think all that times, like Shirley said, is we have to look in the mirror, look at ourselves. And honestly, I think nowadays we really have to focus on family and community. I think that has been missing in a lot of our conversations and a lot just in general. And, I think that's where it has to start. It starts at home, and if people who don't have a home to have those, we need to pull them together, pull them into our homes, make our own families. A lot of times back in the day, if we didn't have families, we made our own families. So I think that's what's been missing. I think that's really has been missing, And that's all I'm gonna say today. I'm gonna shut up.
Okay, no, I appreciate it. You wanna say something, Chloe? Are you good? You all set? All right. What about you, C Prince? You want to say something, man?
Yeah, I say something. I'm glad to see this conversation is coming up. I know a lot of y'all are younger than me. You know what I'm saying? And I'm gonna say this. You want to look at success? Look at the people who stood up for something and died for something in our community. Understand this. There's a lot of fake people who live in today enjoying the benefits of those who passed. I say that openly. You know what I'm saying? Don't repeat what we have done. Make your own way. Don't tread the same waters we did, marching and singing songs and all that nonsense. Because guess what? It didn't help y'all out because y'all still talking about the same stuff we talked when I was a kid. You know what I'm saying? Y'all still talking about the same thing that I talked about a kid. So guess what? If y'all continue to do the same thing, you look at it this way. Your children will be on the same platform talking about the same stuff that they've been talking about since the 50s. Ain't that something? Since the 50s, we've been talking about this. And it ain't nothing changed. Yeah, we got more freedoms and stuff like that. But at the same time, did we really get freedom? You see what I'm saying? And that's all I got to say.
Okay. Yeah, no, I appreciate that, C Prince. Let's say to your point, man. I think that is what is going through a lot of our minds today, right? We don't want to continue to repeat. Like I said, I know some of these situations are long, deep-rooted situations, right? So it's still going to be an uphill challenge. But I think our generation is starting to look at these things differently and saying, how can we go about this differently? We're applying, business acumen to it. Now we're talking equity versus equality. Now we're talking, more people are and I'm not saying these are solutions, right? But more people are talking and investing versus just being a consumer. More people are getting away from working jobs and owning businesses. Like I said, there is a shift that is happening. But what has also happened during this shift is, as we talk these things, there's still a high percentage of division that is still present within all of that. And I think that is one of the main parts that is hurting our progress. You know, to Nina's point, there was more or less division back then, more of a community mindset. And those things, along with our shifting thinking.
So I'm gonna hit you as soon as I get to the crib. I'm waiting on Tori. They watching the ending.
Oh, that was Carlos. But you know, that shifting in thinking, and then that bringing back that whole community mindset, I think will help move us in the right direction. But like I said, that's one of the hardest pieces, like I said, because we're just in these different directions. You know, we're all scattered in these different directions. And a lot of us, you know, to be honest, and I think somebody said it earlier, a lot of us just carry a high level of selfishness. So we just trying to get our own situation together. We ain't thinking about helping nobody else out. We trying to stay afloat with our own little situation. You know what I'm saying? Folks is, you know, up underwater, money messed up, debt, you know, up the wazoo, you know, job got them stressed out. You know, kids got them all over the place. School is virtual one day, the next is changing. Like folks all over the place, you know. So when you come to talking about coming together, they like, I got too much on my plate. And don't get me wrong, that's still an excuse, because at the end of the day, it's only going to get it better for all of us if we collectively approach it. So you still got to dedicate that time to moving your people forward, not just you forward, because we're always stronger in numbers. So I just put that out there. Los, you want to say something, man, before we get ready to wrap, man?
Can I put, yeah.
You're breaking up a little bit,
it's
brother.
funny because I love what. Sorry about that. Can you hear me? Is this better?
Yes, a little better. Go ahead.
Okay, I love where Lavelle was coming from. 100% about understanding the financial situation when it comes to the scenario. Nobody respects us because we don't have enough money to sit at the table. And every time we put ourselves in situations to get the bread, they destroy that whole community. I understand, Charles, that you don't like the word systemic racism, but at the same time, if you change the narrative or you change the word, it doesn't change exactly what the actions and the solutions that's going on. It doesn't change the perfect system that they built because, like you said, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000, 2010, 2020, and we still fighting the same system that has been happening for the longest. I think the insanity is to think that we can only march. I think the insanity is to think that if we just play along, that nothing will stop being killed. I think the insanity is that we don't come together in scenarios when these happen and unite with each other. I think that's the craziness. I think the insanity is when someone with like an Ice Cube takes the time to put some type of package together. I'm not saying it's the right thing, but he did something while other people are doing nothing. And then you sit there and judge from a situation of you did nothing. But yet you have everything that will say about somebody who's trying to do something. How are we ever going to get ahead when we have so much discord, so much hate, so much like why is it when we get this bread, no disrespect, right? All of a sudden we forget about our own. All of a sudden we own yachts partying and there's no black women allowed. It's no this, it's no that. Why is it when we get bread? I said, you can love whoever you want to love, but why is it when you get the bread, you want to marry someone outside of your race and then bash your race? That's what I have a problem with. I have a problem with when you get the success, but yet when you look back on your own people and you disrespect your own people as an acting as if you don't come from that lineage. How dare you forget who you are? How dare you sit up here and just talk about black women, but you wouldn't be here without the black woman? Oh, they're angry. Well, don't you think that they have the right to be angry? Because, brother, when you didn't have the bread, you was angry. All of a sudden, now that you have the money, you forget all the passion and all your ancestors and everyone else who sacrificed for you to be in a position to have that type of money or lifestyle. That's what I think is insane. I think it's insane to think that we're ever going to create the change that we say we want, but yet we're not willing to put in the work or the sacrifice. I think it's crazy to say we want the change, but when Colin Kaepernick took a knee, we could have shut all that down. Man, I got to get that check. Man, I got to get that bread. But you're not willing to sacrifice. What are you willing to sacrifice to get the equality that you say you want? Because it comes with a price. How many times are we going to watch this on a rerun? Bro, let me tell you something. We are dying at such a rapid rate that people don't even care. It's not even that big of a deal. Oh, you heard about the little girl? Oh, you heard about the little boy? You heard about Austin Wright? Oh, we got a versus battle. We got a versus battle tonight. Wait, what? We talking about versus battle? We talking about music? We talking about music? When somebody just lost their damn life? No disrespect to no artist, You know what I'm saying? But the point remains, the fact remains is what we doing. When was the last time we heard about Black Lives Matter? Shout out to all my NBA players because I know y'all doing what y'all doing. But when was the last time we really heard about that movement? But yet, we worried about who's going to win the championship. We worried about if this person, man, the Nets got a super team. I heard more about the super team than I have about Black Lives Matter. Where are our priorities? What have we forgotten? Now, don't get me wrong. You have people like a LeBron James and them using their platforms to create more awareness. That's happening. You know what I mean? But what I'm saying is, are we forgetting the mission? Are we forgetting the goal? Like one of my rich friends, right? She's no longer here. She told me, and I just think that now that y'all was having this conversation and from Lavelle, bro, when you said that, bro, this God just put it on my spirit, right? And she said, King, most wealthy people look at most minorities as they're no more than the gestures in the king's court. Because y'all dominate everything you do. But the truth is, percentage-wise, y'all really own nothing. And so what does a gesture do in the king's court? He entertains, he dances, he makes us laugh, he shucks and drive, and he makes sure that so to a certain extent, no disrespect to anyone, just to a certain extent, have y'all ever looked at the NFL draft? When I look at the NFL draft, because I wanted to go to the NFL, I love football. But have you ever looked at how people get drafted? And have you ever looked at slavery and how slaves got drafted and how slaves got picked? Y'all don't see no similarities in that. Because they're looking for the strongest, the fastest, the healthiest. And we're going to do these different measurements to weigh which one we need to pick. The benefits might look a little different. You know what I'm saying? It just might not be working in the cotton field. But I'm just talking about, you know, the subtext of it. Just the subtext of it. And I think sometimes we miss the subtext of things. Sometimes I think we overlook things because we got too damn comfortable. I'm gonna say that again because y'all might like it. I don't care. So what? We got too comfortable. We got too comfortable with the table scraps from Master's table. And the funny thing of it is we only getting the breadcrumbs. We're not even living in the fruit of what it really looks like to be successful. Now, what she said was, she was like, you know what, Kobe, right? And shout out to Kobe, rest in peace. I love Kobe. He's a mentor, a hero to me. I don't care what nobody say, but I am going to use this scenario. Kobe might be able to leave his children 5 championship rings, while the owner can leave his children 5 islands. Who's really winning in this equation? And he had to score a bucket. He had to make 1 basket. He ain't out there tearing his ACL. He ain't out there getting injured. That's Kobe and them putting in all that work. That's Shaquille O'Neal out there. Them some good boys. Those some good athletes. And you know what killed me? Let's go here. When you successful in your job, oh, you're not like the rest of them. What the fuck you mean? Oh, you different from everybody else. You're talented. No, everyone has the same opportunity, but yet it's purposely hindered. If I am the oppressor and I am the system, why would I teach you? Why would I want you to have the knowledge to your freedom? Why would I tell you I want you to be stupid. I want you to think it's black versus Asian. I want to keep you distracted from uniting. Because the longer you're distracted, the longer my family and our generational wealth can keep winning. I'm watching the show on Amazon Prime, and it's called Viking. Dope show, amazing actors. And it talks about how these Vikings went on land and then they colonized the land to take over the land. And they wanted to take all the treasures, all the wealth, and they wanted to bring their way of life and way of living to these foreign lands. They wanted to go west. And it started making me think a little differently about our history. And it started making me think how our lands was taken over, how our religion was taken over, how our thought process and the way of life was taken over. But then they'll tell us, put your guns down, don't shoot, don't this, don't do this, don't do that. But every time I see them storm a Capitol building, you do exactly what you tell us not to do. I could be tripping. Maybe I'm dumb. Maybe I ain't the smart one in the group. Maybe I just don't know what the hell I'm talking about. But every time y'all take over a federal building, y'all walking around with y'all guns. And y'all, guess what? It is your amendment and it is your right to do so. But what the president said out of his own mouth, we know if black people would do that. Hey, really, Mr. President? So if you know there's a difference, I know there's a difference. Why the hell is you painting goddamn Black Lives Matter in the middle of the street? Because you signing orders. You've changed a lot of laws since you've been in there. But I ain't seen one law that done changed for somebody like me. I don't give a damn about a mural. Because guess what? Even the murals get destroyed. Even the murals, you have someone go out there with some black paint and paint right over the damn mural. So what does that do? Because a mural ain't changing my life. A mural ain't keeping me safe. And the proof is in the pudding because we still out here dying. I bet y'all watch that NBA game tonight, though. Go figure. Check this out. Did y'all ever notice when we did this right here, when we stopped going to football? Let's use Colin Kaepernick for an example, because y'all remember Colin took a knee, right? Tell me if I'm telling a lie. Colin Kaepernick took a knee, and he got blackballed by the NFL, right? And then all of a sudden, everybody stopped watching football. What did the fucking owners do next year? Wasn't they all on the ground taking the same damn knee that they told Colin Kaepernick not to take? I could be wrong, Quay. I ain't the smartest dude, bro. I know a black guy got blackballed for taking the knee. And then all of a sudden, I see a group of people taking the damn knee, the whole damn team taking the knee for a different reason. So you can take a knee to protect the damn shield, a logo, but I can't take a knee to protect my life? What the fuck? Excuse my language, but I don't give a damn right now. Tell me how that worked. You know how that worked? Them pockets got affected. Y'all started losing that goddamn money. And when y'all started losing that money, y'all started understanding the conversation. Oh, no, we can't do that. Oh, no, we need to come together. Oh, Black Lives Matter. The NFL said Black Lives Matter, but yet y'all still ain't put Colin Kaepernick back on the NFL team. Somebody lied. Somebody lied. Well, you know what? We'll get Jay-Z to come in there. Hey, we like Jay to the Izza. Jigga, come on. And you know what? You'll swear your people. But when I was watching Birth of a Nation, you know what that reminded me of? That reminded me of the pastor. What's the gentleman's name in history? Because I got a lot going on in my mind right now. Nate Turner? Nate Turner? Is that Nate Turner? Nate Turner in history? And they use Nate Turner to go around to use the Bible to condense slaves to make sure you obey your master. So they manipulated the Bible and gave part scriptures to people who couldn't read, who couldn't get the whole truth, but half of the truth. But then when he started getting into the whole truth, he figured out, oh, these mother been using me. Oh, hell no. But guess what? Didn't that movie get blackballed? Then all of a sudden they did the research on Nate Parker and tried to bring up some fake charges that never even went through to blackball that movie, so y'all can't see the truth of a movie. We ain't paying attention, man. And we are going to, and guess what? Napoleon Hill has a book. It's called Outwitting the Devil. And I want y'all to check that book out because he talks about hypnotic rhythm. And he talks about how people stay in a loop on a hamster wheel. We are on a hamster wheel that we do not want to get the fuck off. You know why? Because we enjoy being a victim sometimes. Sometimes we enjoy just complaining. Sometimes we just want to say, you know what? It's the white man's fault. It's that person's fault. It's your goddamn fault too. You know why? Because we could keep participating in the same shit. We got to have some accountability for our choices. We got to have some accountability for our comfort. Are you willing to be uncomfortable so your children can be comfortable? Because this ain't about you. You ain't fighting for you. Because you might not live long enough to see the change. You know how I know? Because your ancestors didn't see the change that you have right now. That's why your ancestors dreamed. Somebody dreamed to have the lifestyle that you have right now. But we so comfortable. Look, I don't want to go too hard because I know I'm just getting in on this, but it bothers me. There was a video with a black woman in the street, and she wouldn't get up out the street, and all the police came. And she said, I'm protesting for George Floyd. And she had the right to protest, to sit how she was sitting in the street. And then you had our own people come up there. Oh, what the hell's wrong with her? What the hell is wrong with you? How the hell and the fuck are we hating on each other? We dying. We are dying. And yet we still hating on each other. When we gonna have some accountability? And guess what? The system has worked so good, so well, that now they understand how to put us against each other. That's why we'll continuously have a black on black crime. Because I know we hate to bring that point up. Why we always got to bring that? Because that's a goddamn accountability. Damn it. Damn it. Because it takes all of us to unite. And they locking up the brave ones because they know, look, if I could take the head, there'll never be another Colin Kaepernick. No one will be brave enough to do it because they know it's career suicide. Have y'all ever noticed a lot of times actors don't speak out either? A lot of people with power don't speak out because they know there's a string attached to that purse and they don't want to change the comfort of that lifestyle. So when you do have somebody that's willing enough, brave enough, like a LeBron James, a Keke Palmer, anybody or anybody that's brave enough to speak out, know that they're willing to put that little purse string on a line for us. And I'm saying it personally. Because when I got on the news and I talked to Jake Tapper and I talked to them people and I was like, yo, this is what y'all misunderstand, man. Y'all misunderstood my forgiveness. See, y'all thought when I said I forgave that I wasn't mad. Y'all thought when I said I forgave that I didn't have no rage. Y'all clown me. Y'all call me nigga, coon, all different type of stuff in the comment section. Your forgiveness didn't stop the little girl from getting beat. Well, guess what? Your silence ain't stopped nothing either because we still out here getting killed. But see, the difference between me and you or whatever else and how I chose to handle my situation, I wanted to do something that was going to last forever. My book will last forever. My films will last forever. Me going to do something stupid won't last. It might be momentarily, for a moment, but I want to make a change that's going to last forever. And that don't make me no better than you. And we all can do our changes differently. I'm not judging how you change it, but stop judging mine. See, it's always easy to judge somebody in the stands than being on the court and being the person that has to take the shot. See, because you ain't got that pressure. See, it's like this. You see a building on fire, and you feel bad for the people in the building, but being a person inside the building is a total different experience. When are we gonna get back in the game, y'all? I just want to know. When are we gonna get back in the game of life? Financially, becoming more financially literate. How are we gonna change the rules of the game if we don't even know the rules? We need to become more educated about this system that we live in instead of just living, because there's a big difference between existing and living. And then not only that, we need to love on each other, man, first and foremost. Even if we don't agree, you can have your plan, I can have my plan, and I'll see you at the top of the mountain. Instead of trying to tear each other down. We got to get back to loving each other. We got to get back to financial. We got to get back to families. Man, we got to step up to the plate and start taking care of our damn families. Not saying we not. I'm just saying what we got to do. Ladies, we got to get back to it because we ain't covering y'all the way we should cover y'all. And then we wonder why our race is falling apart. How the hell we supposed to stand together, but we don't even want to stand for our women no more? I'm just being real, man. I'm just being honest. Ladies, how we supposed to make a change? Now, y'all been on the front line. I see why y'all angry. I see why y'all mad. Because some of the times y'all stand up more for us than we standing up for y'all. We got to fix that. Period. We got to come together because if we don't, they're going to keep killing us. Keep killing our children. I'm sorry. I mean, no disrespect. That couldn't have been my child. No disrespect to nobody. Because we have free will to do what we do. I don't even want to put that energy out there, but Kingy, Trey, just know any day that would have been my bullet. 100%. 100%. My son fell out of me and my son went skiing. You know, that might not be something that we really do like that. We went skiing, right? And my son wasn't sitting in the ski lift all the way. My son fell out the ski lift and we 20 feet in the air. Guess what? You damn right I fell with him, grabbed him, turned around, fell on our back, fell in that snow together. You heard me? But that's me. That's my choice. That's my choice. And I'm going to keep my choice and I'm going to stand on my choice. I can't make you stand on nothing. But for me, I'm going to stand and I'm going to do what I'm doing. And I ask y'all, whatever it is that y'all choose to do it. But just stop hating on each other when somebody else is doing something. What's wrong with us having a collective black think tank? Well, we take a lot of great minds and we all come together. See, everybody wants somebody else to do the job. Well, where are our black leaders? Look in the damn mirror. Why you need somebody else to do what you can do? Stop being damn lazy. Yeah, I said it. Because we made it this far. If we made it to 2021, that means we are educated enough to come together on our own mindset to do something together. Together. We can come up with a plan together. And guess what? That plan gonna come with hate because that's just part of success. Either you jumping on a train or you're not. And if you're not on a train, it's cool. Take your own. Take a car. Take a plane. I don't give a damn how you get to the destination. Just get there. And I'll see you there, brother. I love you. I love you, sis. However you get there. But for this train, we gonna keep doing what we doing on Look in the Mirror. We gonna keep doing what we doing. And whoever want to get on the Look in the Mirror train, get up here and talk and have an opinion. This is our think tank right here. We thinking out loud. So either you can get with us thinking or you can talk about us. Either way, we gonna keep it moving. Period. We gonna keep it moving. You know why? Because it's a choice. We ain't gotta have our faces on this screen. But we're taking a chance because guess what? We want to make a difference. You can't get to heaven without dying. Facts. So my question is, what are you willing to do to make a change? Because obviously what you're doing right now or what we're doing right now ain't working. It ain't working. And the proof is all over the news. The proof is all in other neighborhoods where you continuously have on crime. I love y'all. So that's why I got to tell y'all the truth, because sometimes we sugarcoat shit too much. Sometimes we just ain't honest. Sometimes we just got to have some real conversations. Sometimes we can say, you know what? Damn, I really can do better. See, because you can lie to me, but you can't lie to that person in the mirror. I love y'all. It's our show. It's our show. I'm in the car right now. They canceled my movie and said, we'll talk about that another day. But guess what? I love y'all enough to still where I'm going to get on here. I'm going to show up. And I'm going to show out. Because I love y'all. And I want us to make a difference. Tristina, thank you for coming through, sis. I love you, queen. You don't get enough praise for that. I appreciate you coming on the show. I appreciate you having your business. And your brains look good, girl. What we talking about?
Thank you, Hairflip.
Lavelle, I appreciate you bringing that financial aspect because sometimes we are so emotional that we forget about finances, bro. We forget about finances and what really how this game is played because they play a monopoly with our life, but we just not playing monopoly back, bro. We're not understanding the long game. So I appreciate you talking about finance make a difference because I guarantee if we shut shit down and we stop doing shit because we the wave. We the wave. I need collagen lips. Why? Because I want to have lips like a black person. I need butt injections. Why? Because I want to have. I mean, it's a wave. Our music is a wave. The funny thing about it is most of the time we don't even buy our own albums. They buying it. It's a wave.
Yep.
The dances. Look at TikTok. It's a wave. Who doing the dances? Who created the dances? A bookie boo. It's Lee and all that. Who doing that? And everybody following the wave. When are we gonna capitalize on that wave? Bro, people ain't hating on you for no reason. People ain't hating on us for no reason. There's greatness all around us. When we gonna start walking in it? When we gonna get our heads up? When we gonna be proud to be black? When we gonna be proud to be who we are? When we gonna be proud to have color? We lost that somewhere we've been lied to. Somewhere we lost who the hell we are. Facts, me included. But today that gotta change. Today that gotta change because if we could change, we could save a baby's life. We can save a future, and we ain't got to be in 2030 talking about the same shit. Herschel, I appreciate you, brother. I appreciate you coming up. Bald heads got to stick together. You feel me? Bald heads got to stick together. You know. I appreciate you, fam. I appreciate your knowledge. I appreciate your wisdom. I appreciate how you deliver your message. I appreciate your patience. I appreciate your humbleness. I just appreciate you having another day to create a change, bro. I appreciate you, fam. Big facts. Charles, I appreciate you. You and Herschel rocking both salt and pepper beers. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna keep mine black for. I'm gonna keep collecting my grades out there, give you my age out there. But I appreciate you, Charles. I appreciate you talking about how you don't like systemic racism. I appreciate you talking about the insanity because sometimes we don't even recognize our own insanity. Sometimes we don't get it, and we wonder why we're still here. It's the Two Sons Juice. I appreciate you, bro. You come on the show fly every day, bro.
You know what I mean? The brick background, you know what I'm saying? You got the Steve Harvey edge up, you know what I'm saying? Looks like you've been in, you know what I'm saying, in that good closet over there, you know what I'm saying? You got a lot of ties over there, Mr. 1,000 Ties. I see you 1,000 Ties, got the white shirt on stunt, you know what I'm saying? You ain't got no stain in from drinking coffee, nothing. You know what I'm saying? Just got the smile going on. I see why Chloe over there. Go on, Chloe, get your man, boo. I appreciate you for hosting the show with me, man. I appreciate you taking over, taking the torch, and running the show while I wasn't able to show up today, bro. I appreciate you. I love you, Quay. I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you, bro. And I promise you, we keep the same energy and we keep the same passions and we keep showing up. Sis, all my sisters out there, we need y'all on here. Because guess what? Y'all balance us out. Period. We need all the sisters on here. Period. Brothers, we need y'all. And we going to lead and we want to be respected. Then get up here and then be respected. Earn your respect. Ain't nobody finna give it to you. Ain't nobody finna follow you if you ain't leading. And then you wonder why she got something to say. Period. Lead then. And then be a man of your word. Be a man of your word. Period. I need all my other races on here. We need some other colors and other opinions on here. We need all of that. We need all of that because it takes, in order to have a rainbow, you need every single color. And I'm going to give you all this quote and I'm done. What makes a rainbow beautiful? Is it not the diversity of colors? Well, if that's true, is mankind's kryptonite trying to make one color better than the next? And if that happens, is it still a rainbow? I think not. So why are we destroying something that God created beautiful with invisible lines of hate? We are all 6 degrees of separation from loving each other, from getting along, from holding hands, but we are addicted to poison. We are addicted to this bullshit. We are addicted to things that's trying to keep us divided, y'all. Man United can accomplish anything. Why you think they got all these systems in place? Why don't you think you hear about All Lives Matter while we're talking about Asian hate? What happened to All Lives Matter? What happened to Blue Lives Matter during Asian hate? You don't hear none of that right now.
Right.
That's why I believe Black and Asians needs to continuously come together. And we need white, and we need Mexican, and we need every single race to come together to create the change we want. Because we have the power. You know how? Stop spending your money and see what they do. These businesses, these major corporations are only major corporations because we make them that. I guarantee you stop spending your money there, what's going to happen? Because a business with no customers is no longer a business.
Mm-hmm.
Think I'm lying? Well, try it. Try it. Why are you so dedicated to somebody else's dream anyway? Why are you so dedicated to wearing somebody else's name anyway? It ain't your name. They don't even know you. Hell, you represent their name more than they represent their name. You dying over their name more than they put their life on the line for their name. But check this out, man. That's our show, because I could go, man. Hey, y'all got me geeked up. Hey, I'm feeling some type of way. I'm telling you right now. You know why? Because, for me, just for me, it's my time. It's my time. It's my time to stop hiding. It's my time to stop not speaking out. It's my time to stop caring if people want to listen to me or not, because it don't matter. Because life is too enough short not to say what you need to say. I'm going to do that. It's our show. Look in the mirror of the conversation. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, bring a friend. Always bring a friend, man. Don't be selfish with all this good information. And join our panel, because we want to hear your amazing voice too. You here for a reason. Give your opinion. Quay, take us on, big dog.
Sure. And I said, once again, shout out to everybody who joined us tonight. Nina, Lavelle, C. Prince, Herschel, Shirley Ann, Chloe. I said everybody down in the comments as well. I said, once again, this is Look in the Mirror, the Conversation. We do this show every Thursday night, 9:30 Eastern Standard Time, 6:30 Pacific Standard Time. So definitely, like I said, tell a friend, share the show. Actually, now a lot of folks have shared the show out. So shout out to everybody who has shared the show out. I want to say the show got shared out like 34 times tonight. So shout out to everybody who shared out the show. Shout out to everybody coming on the panel. I say we appreciate everybody to continuously supporting what we're trying to do. With that being said, everybody have an awesome night, and we'll see you guys next Thursday.